Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live in Technicolor from the beautiful Hollywood Hills, California. The show where the total retail price of their advice is $0. This is Timelines Talk. Featuring guest stars. The fact of the matter is, oh my, it's stars and garters. Also featuring, more like Command Dip Suck, look out, it's Automaton 2000. And now, there's no way he gets this intro right. Here's your host, Captain Idol.
Yes, welcome ladies and gentlemen to another edition of Timelines Talks, the premium exclusive #1 talk show for all things Star Trek Timelines. I am Captain Idol, I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Automaton 2000 and Stars and Garters, and we are back from the charity stream, which was an unresounded success, despite us three waking up the next day and going, oh god, we're so tired because we're streaming for 8.5 hours. However, I just have to say, before we start the show, a massive, huge thank you to everyone that came to the stream, everyone that donated money, and everyone that supported us in the backlines. A thanks to WRG, because we have one final figure that for our total donations, because we hit $2,000 on the night. Final figure is $2,234.20. So thank you very much for everyone that donated. It was an absolute smashing night. We had a great time, and if anyone wants to go and rewatch it, you can go and look on the YouTube channel. I've now broken down each one into individual sections, so you can go and just see, say, the WRG chat, or Smock Teleheli's technical problems, or Big and Garrick citing up a fluffy tribble. But no, it was absolutely brilliant. We had a fun, and guys, how did you find the stream? Our first charity show.
Honestly, I had a ton of fun. I was expecting to be more tired than I was on the night, but then I came off of the stream and I was like, oh, I'm dead. And then I just basically flopped over into things. It was like, yeah. I slept well that night, but I slept well knowing I had done well and that I'd had fun with people that I cared about. So that's good.
So I sat on my very intelligent self sat on this wooden chair for like 9 hours from start to finish. My lower back was killing me by the end of it. Felt like an old man. But it was a lot of fun. I mean, when you're there doing it and talking with everyone, and I learned how not to be a VIP zero from Captain Sheridan. We also ineffable pull that great hero pole star and what resulted from that, and so a lot of good memories from everyone involved. And in fact, I want to go ahead and shout out a bunch of donations. First, let's start with the ones that came in after the stream, because anyone who left a comment, of course, we want to acknowledge you as well. So Captain Baird Paddington said, I couldn't watch it last night, but watched some this morning. Great show and cause. Duran says, cheers to Timelines Talks for using their platform for more than just the game. The game discussion is great too. Donations from Timelines Q, No Name Namer, and DC Pilot with no comments. One from Jenna Sedanian, or Steven and Sin in chat, who says, now hold on, I was given this after the fact. Let me find. Okay, I pinned it somewhere. He says, my message is, I am Captain Idol, and I am a goof, and I look like Soulbore and love expedition events. So thank you, Steven and Sin in chat.
I think that's basis for a libel case right there.
I think it is. That's inflammation? No. Anyway.
Defamation.
Defamation. That's not inflammation. That's something else I have.
A donation from Loki, 10F's Loki, who was a guest star on the stream. They said, managed to sort out my PayPal. Thanks for all you do for the community. Hope you're all recovered now. Well, almost. We had 3 streams last week, so including that whopper of one.
It was a long week for us, wasn't it? We had three shows in the week. It was mad.
Now, I also want to shout out, we had so many big time donations. Everyone over $50 I want to mention again, because you guys helped us push that amount beyond where any of us, I mean, we were talking before the show, we said, well, where do we set this initial amount? Like, we can't go too high and have it be, sort of a flop, but how how much will people donate when we only have 40, 50, 60 people watching, and you guys blew us away. So anyone who donated a large amount, I want to shout you out now. Geno Sedanian, No Name Namer, Captain Kamikawa, Space Junk is Cold, Commander Sinclair, WRG is Ben, Fury, Joe, and Carmen. They all came on the show and all donated. Low Cost Monkey, Captain Sheridan, Chem Trekker, Skycap, Robert Kaiser, Captain Hawk, Spocklet Chips, Nifty Mittens, and the guy who got us started 7-6 suited with the biggest donation of the night sort of blew away our first couple donation goals. So thank you very much, everyone who donated.
Weren't they fun? We had loads more donation goals planned as well. We had like a big list because you can never have too many, and I think we had a lot more acting ones that we wanted to get through. But I think we just ran out of time, didn't we? Because between blasting through each of the guests and just like trying to make
not
space.
Enough time. That was the problem with that stream.
Yeah, okay.
Should have been at least 3 times as long.
Yeah, more time for us to make idiots of ourselves. How about that? That's why everyone wants to see.
I think we'll have to, next time we do a stream like that, we'll have to make sure we just like stack it full of the acting ones, because people seem to really like those.
That was fun.
Even though the best one, of my opinion, was the one involving neither of us. Like it was Shia Porn and DC Pilot doing In the Pale. I thought that was amazing. I was very, very happy to see that. Exactly, and it showed.
No,
and I want to say as well that WRG contacted us before the stream, and they said, "Guys, we would love to donate, but red tape being what it is, we wouldn't get the paperwork there in time for your stream." So they have committed to donating. I think they said Child's Play has an event in June that they're looking to donate for. So for those 4 WRG employees to come on the stream, give their time on a Saturday, and all give large donations out of their own pocket, we're very grateful to that as well.
No. Unresiding success.
All of them are amazing. So
and
happy to have them.
That was a good talk. That was definitely a good talk, and I'm very glad at least one of them also plays Deep Rock Galactic. So
I'm just glad to see what everyone in the community looks like, because it's who was, I think it was you stars who said, when you talk to someone online, they are their avatar. They're that little picture, whatever they choose to put on the forums or on Discord. So it's nice to put a face to all these names.
Yeah, so like for months in my brain, DC Pilot was just a plane.
I did say to Ineffable afterwards, I expected pink hair, and they had pink hair in a previous incarnation, but no. Recovering was interesting because the people might be asking, cup of tea? Idle, not a beer? What's going on with you? Well, woke up the next morning and after a series of exhaustion shaking moments, I went, oh, my tooth really hurts. Oh, Christ. I went to the dentist and they went, yeah, you've got an infectile. I'm on antibiotics, so it's going to be a reserved, a much more official Captain Idle tonight, talking exclusively about statistics and boring things. No. Okay, so yes, thank you for everyone that donated to the charity stream. Thank you for coming. I think we'll do that again in the future. Next sort of major event, we'll work on some. We're going to work on some other things as well and keep this fun rather than just the weekly show. So we'll see what happens. Before we move on to talking about the honour sale, let's just do our usual looking at the event. So the previous event, which was a hybrid faction galaxy. Congratulations to SSR's very own Bri. Bri? What do we decide how that was pronounced?
Like the cheese, I think.
Like the cheese, like
sure.
Gorgonzola. The lettuce.
Gorgonzola, then. Bri. And yeah, we're coming in first with 11 million points. Few other names. We've got LF Flash from the Data Core team, and also from the forums, a former sort of someone constantly in the top ranks of the events as I've seen. SSR's Barkley, who you may have seen on the charity stream, there at number 17. I don't know if you guys... Oh, Roddenberry Pie, who is one of EXO's representatives up there. We Are Borg, another one who who we shout out quite a lot. A lot of J, as we said to Cold on the charity stream. You guys are a competitive fleet. And he went, yeah, we are.
Number 8's Pelisol also donated
a few
times during the night as well. So
yeah. Stellar Ice, number 44. VIP Zero's leader. Actually, within the top 50
That's
ranks.
a surprise. It wasn't a Dex.
It wasn't
Maybe
a Dex.
Maybe she saw Dexa and was like, oh!
Dexa!
And then she got her and, oh.
Is she dyslexic? I don't know. But no, congratulations to everyone who did that. So we've had the honour sale is now finished. So we've kind of had our week's worth of pulls, digested. Everyone's probably sitting on a bunch of sites. What we're going to do this week, because we'll talk about the on sale in a second, what we're going to do this week is go through a few common names. If you've not spent your sites already, there might be a few names you are possibly sitting on, waiting on, that you might want to consider citing. But yes, the honor sale's finished. It finished as of yesterday at reset time. I certainly got uncomfortable amount of all frozen begolds. Chat, please weigh in about how was the honor sale for yourselves. Yeah, guys, how did you find it? Like, what was your sort of main output? Because this was a previous honor sale that was sort of repeated again, coming out of it having actually been through the biggest stage of everyone hoarding, because I think everyone was hoarding honor for this one. This was like a big blowout, like bigger than pretty much I've seen from anyone else in the community. Like, how did you guys feel about it?
So I do enjoy the honor sales very much, not just because obviously it's a chance to actually spend your honor, but if you're a part of any of the Discords or any of the social media, you come on every day and everyone's done like 50 beholds and they've all been like, oh, like, what should I pick this? And then after time it comes down to an affection pick, and it's like, you know what, those always make me laugh. But they always make me happy as well, because I always tend to go for an affection pick most of the time. Well, there's no deciding factor.
Is it a wolf?
Is it a wolf? Usually tends to be the deciding thing. He didn't turn out that often for me, so it was harder decisions than usual. But you know, whatever. Like I've been spoiled with wolves this past few months, so I can't really complain. The way I sort of did it was like I went for the 40Ks every time, because you can't beat the value on that. I haven't had an all frozen behold yet, which I'm extremely thankful for. I got a few long-standing cards that I've been waiting to finish, like Chancellor Gorkon, Chancellor Laurel, Professor Sato finally got her final star rather, and a lot of sites, and I promptly used them all pretty much. I've kept a few, but they've all gone on out of Portal Crew or affection picks like Dr. Roger Corby or Mira Culber, because I could be more efficient and wait and put them on people like the community named Saruman or whatever, but I already have names that I've been waiting on for ages, and the honor sale was so long in coming. I was like, no, I want these done now. I want them finished and being on voyages so I can see them more often. That's my approach to it.
Definitely.
I think my favorite part of the week was just having something to look forward to every day, or every evening you log on and you can have a bit of fun. So I know we've talked a lot about WRG should tweak things in the future. The hoarding's not good for players, yada yada. I don't know if they will change anything. I'm sure they won't tell us if they do, because got to keep you on your toes. But if they do that, I think what I would like is just reduce the number you can do each day, because I still want to be able to log on each day, even if it's only 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. It's nice to have the everyday log on thing. So. So that was my favorite part of it. Just have something to do, something to talk to your friends about, compare which crew you got. So, me personally, going after all those collections, I just try to cast a wide net, catch as many as I could, and I'm still sitting on a lot of citations. The only ones
after using them on people like Mulhall and Vash, and
those were the only ones I used this
right.
last week. Was the ones you saw on the stream. So I think I'm just going to bide my time, trying to see how the collections fill out, and then when I get close and I can finish one off all at once, I might do that. But yeah.
So just for coming from chat, Robert Kyle says, I had no all frozen golds, got a few nice golds, accidentally applied one site already, but it's fine. I'd like to know who the accident was. But still have 16 sites to spend.
It's like what's the damage there? Is it a copyright or is it...
Is it... I'm fine, it's fine, I can live with it. I can live with it.
Yeah.
Loki says, still got 7 sites waiting until after the Mega to probably decide. And I think that's a factor for a lot of people. I think, like, because looking at Barry Waddle and looking at Human Saru and Dexa, and so a lot of people that are going for recaps might go, I'm going to hold off and just see what I get, which is, I have to admit, I'm probably going to do that as well.
The idea of Barry Waddle, powerhouse, is still, like, funny to me, you know?
Yeah, Smockdale Hilly says, it was an experience, too many Philly Fuseba golds. Yes, remember from your stream. The alt has a slot problem again. It was interesting timing
God,
as well.
I feel that.
Yeah. Going from a slot sale to an honor sale was fortunate, because it could have been the other way round, which so...
Yeah, I did try to plan ahead of time. I freed up enough slots that I pretty much hit it right on the nose. I think I got all my golds in under the gun, but now I'm full on slots again. So
Well, it's this confluence of you have the honor sale where you're constantly getting an influx of like a star or a new card, and costumes has such a wide pool that if you intend to make a run on the faction, which was this is the first event out of the gate, like you've got all these people unfrozen, and you're constantly like, oh, who can I afford to cut? Who's on the cotton block? And you're like, this good Voyager is gonna have to sit in the freezer for a little bit while I unfreeze this bad costumed crew.
yeah, we'll talk about costumes in a second. Number one, Captain Idle, Needler, Steven and Cinna in chat is asking about them, and it's just a nice thing if when you get a crummy behold and you look at a crew and you go, well, at least they're in this collection. Like that definitely takes the sting off it. So even if you're really never going to finish the crew, just the mental aspect of not getting a total suck out is like it's nice. Yeah. So.
And hopefully for all those cards that don't have a collection, there'll be one soon if they're going to carry on with their one a month. Which, looking at, we'll talk about this in a bit, but they've done some trait changes lately, and I'm wondering if some of that is for collections, or some of it is to balance out crew retrieval for some of the crew that might be a bit easy. Maybe they're adding a few traits, maybe because it also makes sense. Like Rurapenthe Kirk is a survivalist. It's kind of that does make sense, but it's a little bit. But also, like we're sitting, people are sitting on a bunch of sites, and you're thinking, I've still got a few to spend. Otto, you prepared us a little section because we've got a few crew we're going to talk about over the period of the show in between various segments. You want to talk about some of the crew. That might be worth looking at that have come out in recent months.
Saying I prepared something is generous. I kind of didn't.
You put more thought into it than I have.
Well, so we asked you last week if you have a crew that you're thinking about citing, and of course now that the sales happened, if you have names that you're contemplating still, you can drop them in chat, and we'll do a few more next week. But instead of doing the citation advice shows that we've done in the past, which take a lot of time and a lot of work. More than you would think by us rambling for an hour. Instead, we're going to just look at existing crew that are big citation candidates like we do with new crew. So, Idle, if you want to pull up the first one, I think we'll start with Adira Tal, or Adira Tal. And this was a giveaway crew that I think everyone got 3 copies of, plus additional if you ranked in EDF Adira's event. So,
and if you don't remember that controversy, please watch a previous episode of Timeline Talks, which you can find on YouTube.
Yeah, that's all.
Incidentally, we got an update from Robert Kaiser. The accident was Wayun 5. They can live with it.
Oh, that's a diplomat, I suppose.
It's a diplomat. It's fine.
See, that's how it works. At least they're in that collection. I was actually watching DS9. No, I was watching DS9. And it was the scene on screen where it's Wayun and Damar, I think, and they're wearing the Dominion, the little thing that covers their eye. Yeah. And I go, ooh, that's where the card art came from. So Adira Tal, this is a crew that everyone should have at least 3 of 5. Maybe 4 or 5 if you did the event and you're sitting on, you're thinking, do I cite them, do I not? I think we want to give kind of a thumbs up or a thumbs down at the end of this. And we'll see if we have... Idle will be the tiebreaker if there's any ties here. So I think from a lot of angles, Adira is worth citing. So we'll start with Voyage because we're all Voyage hogs here, but the score is good. We've had... little rank fluctuations with the different bonuses dropping in and out, but they really haven't moved much in terms of power. The Dip Eng stack is good. A name that I saw pop up a lot during the honor sale was Bridge Officer #1, and everyone who has her said, "Oh yeah, take that crew. They're a good Voyager." And so this is basically an upgrade on that, almost a direct upgrade. Now, coming up with Xahean Adira next week, this will be their second feature. So in terms, if you like event bonuses, they will be there in some capacity. Maybe not Discovery. This seems to be the second non-bonus Discovery mega that we're getting. So if nothing else, we'll at least see Discovery crew featured. Now you also have the collections aren't there yet, but the way things are going, I'm leaning toward just grab as big a trait bowl as you can, as many traits as you can stuff into a crew. That's going to be a plus. And anything non-standard like Trill, prodigy, musician, spiritual. Those could all, I mean, exobiology was sort of caught everyone off guard. Any one of those could trigger in the future. So the base, I mean, you need another dip base like you need a hole in the head, but still rank 12 for what it is equivalent. Anything rank 3 to 40 is pretty much the same thing. So they're going to make shuttles, maybe even without a bonus if you don't have a lot of those crew fuse. So for me, it's a thumbs up pretty much across the board.
Straight thumbs up from me as well, because like I love Adira. I think they're a great character. I think they're probably like I can think of at least 3 more variants off the top of my head. Strong Voyage stack. Like another name I saw want to come up fairly often during the on sale was like Interface the Forge, and again that's like they are the dip edge Voyager of the pick, and it's one of those stacks. Do you either have it amazing, like you have everyone like that's worth a damn cited up, or you don't, and it's like. Usually you want to pick one of those 3 names, like number 1, LaForge, or Adira, and Adira is the pick of the litter, especially like going forward, I feel like. And it's sort of like what, like the 10 to 15, like 20 like range of voyages is roughly where like you're going to stay roughly consistent and you go get a massive amount of variability. I feel like they're going to age very well.
Thumbs up.
Big thumbs up.
I love this episode. I love
the
the episode because this is like the return to the trill pools, the rituals, and that sort of feature in Deep Space Nine. So it's nice to kind of revisit that and give it a little bit more flesh out with sort of some little bit more modern sort of CGI and sort of see it from the inside. So that was quite cool. You know, I like the connection with this character aside from the drama that follows the card in previous months.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
I mean, if you're on the outside looking in, some of that can be fun too. But if it affects you negatively, then it's not so fun. Okay, up next, let's look at another giveaway crew, Luau Paris. And this is one that was given away, I think, 4 copies through temporary achievements.
Was it 4?
So?
Oh yeah, because one was.
It was 4, yeah.
Yeah, one was actually a giveaway, wasn't it?
Hey, now you accuse me of doing planning, so don't contradict if I'm giving numbers. No, please contradict, because I'm usually wrong. But
I have one job on this stupid show. It's stupid, but I'm going to do it, okay?
Please don't let us interrupt you any further. We're gonna, but don't let us.
No, these are not diatribes. These are, what's the word for a 2-person diatribe? Dialogue, I guess?
Duo tribe?
Dialogue.
A duo tribe?
Triologue.
During new album, Duo Tribe.
Welcome to English Talks, where we break down the language. No, please carry on.
So Luau Paris.
We fail English? That's impossible.
4 of 5. And this one is going to be one of the few on this list that I give a thumbs down to. And I think at this point, if you still have him at 4 of 5, you're probably feeling hesitant for the same reasons that I'm feeling hesitant. One is the skill set. The voyage power is there, and that's great, but you kind of want to marry good skill set with good power, and he really only has one of those. Another thing that I've sort of been rolling around my head lately is the idea, and this sort of lines up with what Captain Sheridan said, the VIP representative on stream, that he tries to collect one of each variant, and there's some truth in that to events, because if you load up too many eggs in one basket, maybe you can crush that one event, but then come the next 2 or 3 and you're hurting for bonus crews. So I think the fact that you have a clearly superior Big Brother determined Paris out there who is a campaign crew, probably a lot of people have their hands on him, maybe you don't want to double up on same character, same skill set. So that's a little bit of a bummer there too. And the Diplomat tag is great. 1 star for Notch in the Diplomat collection. If that's why you want to finish them, I can't say no to that. But beyond that, it's straights are kind of thing. There's Maverick, which I think we all kind of like because it's in the right pool. But then you have Human Federation Starfleet. That's never going to do anything for anyone. And Casual is like, maybe you get a one-off with headline by Captain Morgan Batesman, Fraser Crane or something. But I just don't think there's a lot of meat on the bone for
Therapist
either,
Bateson.
Yeah, so I think Diplomat is there as a big reason, and the Big Daddy-O Surf Special shirt. If you're going for storyline, I can see citing him up for that. But for me, it's a pass. I'm going to keep him at 4 or 5, and you'll still have them from the giveaway, so it's not like they're completely dead weight. But I'm going to wait and see how Diplomat plays out and my sights in the future before I do anything with him.
Yeah, like this is one where I'm going to give them a conditional thumbs up, thumbs down. Like, if you're a VIP zero where you don't spend like a lot of money, if you don't like take the premium campaigns and you don't have Determined Paris, I can definitely see this being a big thumbs up, because if you don't have Determined Paris, it's probably going to be one of those command dipset crew you want. And he is objectively good, but if you have Determined Paris, I just say he is basically a slightly inferior version, down to the skill set, which is, it's apples and apples and apples, but you do want Dipsec as the, if you can, that you want to go for Dipsec, because that is usually a stealth weakness on a lot of people's rosters, whereas Dip Command tends to be pretty damn strong. So, yeah, he's going to sit on 4 or 5 on my roster as well, unless I get like a Cite, and I literally can't think of a single other person I think you would rather give it to. So, conditional thumbs up, thumbs down for me, depending on your situation in terms of spending.
I think I'm the same. It is situational, isn't it? I think if I was within window of completing a tier on the Diplomat collection, then yeah, no shout, I'd do it, because he would fulfill sort of 2 roles there. But I wonder, like, I also think Paris variants are very common in events, and I think there's enough Dip Command seats that might make it worth it for him. So, like, in the same, like, I'm not citing him now, but I probably will soon for that reason, because his utility is better than his actual use.
Well, right, but you also, if you have him 4 or 5 anyway, he should be leveled on your roster, and he's still going to make shuttles. So it's like that star is really giving you 2, 3, 4% success on one shuttle.
True.
So, I mean, it's worth something, but when you think about the value of a Cite and how you can stretch it to cover all sorts of weaknesses on your roster, Dip Command is generally not one of them. But I do like the thought. When there's a good command dipsec crew that comes along, people are often blinded by the stat ranks. And my thought is, look, you're going to get this skill set lots of other places. So you don't really need to chase this crew. Maybe you don't need to pay for that command dipsec campaign, because you're going to get them for free. And Paris is a good example of that. So if you've been, avoiding that skill set like a plague because you know it's going to come around anyway, maybe this is one of the few crew that you have that represents it. And in that case, that's fine. But it's literally 3.5 times more common than any other skill set in the game. So for Voyages, the power's there, but if you replace them out with the next crew in line, you're not going to see much of a drop in power there. Up next, we have a pair of, it's going to be the last 2 mega crew. First, let's talk about Barry Waddle, because he's sort of fresh in people's minds. And it surprised me, because you go back and look at former mega crew, there's not a lot of rare skill sets there. There's a lot of command dipsec. I think there's like 5 or 6 former ones. There's a lot of psi command in there. This is the first Eng Med one we've had. And so just
the first one that we've had that has come through, not necessarily the first one you could have justified. Like, we could have had a Suspiria, but they decided against that.
Why?
Because it's my
what
job.
What did I do to you?
There was a popular request to have Auto reenact his Suspiria rant as one of the donation goals, but unfortunately we didn't get that.
So Nobleman in chat is saying, when I use Data Core Voyage app, he shows up to be selected often. And that's true. He will be. He's probably one of your, well, not probably, he's definitely one of the best 12 options for a number of Voyage combos. But the point is, if you replaced him with your next one in line, you're not going to see a big drop off, where you would with someone like Barry. Eng Primary, which there are a precious few of those in the top Voyage ranks. Eng Med is a great combo. They did a good job filling that out this last year, but still the power skill set combos there. And think of how long Temporal Prisoner Chakotay has coasted by his reputation on this skill set, and arguably this permutation's even better. So you have that. You have a number of traits. I mean, this is better than Casual Maverick, in my opinion. Saboteur, shout out to DC number 2 former event faction winner DC pilot who loves saboteurs. Undercover Operative Scoundrel had 2 megas. Klingons had 7 events. I'm sure they're going to get another mega, just the way things are blowing. So he's got plenty of traits. He's got a good base, got great Voyage power, and then 1 citation for work on the Klingon collection, which currently requires, I think, twice as many golds as Diplomat does. So, I mean, if you're thinking, well, what's the best bang for my buck if I'm going for collections, and Paris is on your list, then certainly a good daily use Klingon like Barry Waddle should be on the list.
Yeah, in fact, if you look at sort of like the amount of citations you're going to be like bandying around here, there's going to be like a high, there's going to be a temptation to like go for someone 1 out of 5, like, oh, I have a booth B at 1 out of 5 that I could cite the way up, or I could do this. But there is a lot of value on putting the last star on a lot of 4 out of 5 crew that you might have hanging around. And if you wanted to split the difference, I could easily see the logic in 1 star on Barry, 1 star on Luau Paris, 1 star on that.
Mm-hmm.
You could make up a lot of numbers that way easily. And you would get a lot of, all boats rising equally rather than channeling all into one skill set, as it were.
His name's Barry Waddle.
Is that all you need for the...
It's not Arn Darwin, it's Barry Waddle.
He deals in gemstones, cubits, and trillium, mostly.
By the way, I think you got called out in the comments, YouTube comments, a couple weeks ago when you mentioned that. So I don't have it on there with me, but if you want to go back and address that comment, I think they said someone else dealt in it, not who was the...
I believe it was Cyrano Jones, wasn't it? Because it's meant to be a reference to him dealing in that. It's the triple episode, I believe.
Maybe you can.
Obviously, I'm the fake fan. Sorry,
fake fan. Get out. Robert Kaiser says, "I recently got this Braxton card from Crew Retrieval. I guess I should use my sites rather for finishing Shinzon and Grand Nagus Rom, right? Well, Grand Nagus Rom is a diplomat,
so hard to create. Shinzon is incredibly hard to crew retrieve. That's a really smart use of your citations.
He was it's not a Captain Picard. Yes, that's exactly what I would suggest.
Yeah.
We know a few people that would instantly cite Shinzon and Grand Nagus Rom, so that one's up to you, Rob.
By a few, you mean one each.
Okay, and one more recent mega crew, Lothario Q. Q Hefner, as Steven Ensign in chat has dubbed him. This is a tough one, because I'm going to do the sideways thumb thing, which I think historically wasn't that like the thumbs up? Back in ancient Rome, if they gave you that was the thumbs up. Yeah. Anyways, this is a tough one, because the bases aren't good, which is part of the reason you cite a crew, and the voyage power's not good. But he has a couple neat perks. First of all, the event tally is pretty damn high. So Q being John Delancey being the primary voiceover guy for the game, he's gonna show up, in later years. He did a special voiceover thing when they released, what was it, Marine Q in the 6-pack.
Oh, he did.
So he helped write episode 10 stuff. So he's still involved with the game. So we are going to see more Q stuff down the line, specifically John Delancey. The other big thing is, this is sort of an odd duo of collections, because you have the Continuum, which needs 1 gold to finish. And if you weren't here for previous Qs and you still need that 1 crew, he also hits on Costume Party, which needs 45 golds or something at this point. So that's a really good, fairly exclusive set of collections if that's your bag. And that Med Command stack, even though it's a secondary, tertiary, that's going to help you out. I remember how many people talked favorably about Guinan after she came out in a campaign. And even though her voyage power, I think, was even worse than Lothario's is now, people still used her a lot on those runs, and they were sort of surprised by it too, because the numbers didn't look that way. But he hits that right niche, just like Barry's med-eng. So I think situationally it could be okay. I'm not personally adding the star to him, but if his strengths of collection and med command, or maybe you have no other good John Delancey's in game, if those strengths are what you want on your roster, I wouldn't talk you out of it. But for me, it's a no. So I'm sort of in the middle.
I'm going to give this one sort of like a tentative thumbs up, just because if you were going to cite him, you're sort of like a 75%, an 80%, an 80-degree angle rather. Because if there was ever going to be a time to cite him, it would be now. Because we are about to head into a costume maker with 2 factions. He is a relatively strong... I think he's not an amazing base, but dip bases are so heavily stacked that you really won't notice much of a difference. If you have him 4 out of 5, if you don't have a massive amount of other costume golds, he will probably anchor a lot of shuttles for you. especially because like a spoiler alert for like it's like a little thing going on here, but the seating in these upcoming events might be a little bit weird. So having someone with a bit of versatility, a little bit of med, a little bit of command might not be the worst thing. The collection value is there. If it's just 1 star and you're flush with citations, I can definitely see the thing. And I would say now is the time to do it. Otherwise, wait until he pops up in the portal and cite him then. But
I'm not sure about him. Like it's if again like Paris, if I need that extra notch on the costume party, because obviously it's 100 tiers, so you need a lot of crew to fill that one. Then yeah, I would. But like you know, for other skills, dip med, I've got so much dip med. I mean, it's not a pair that is going to do anything for me. So yeah, I'm not going to cite him. And I think it has to be situational. So yeah, like you know, yeah, a little bit there. I didn't realize we were going to do rankings. I thought everyone was going to be. You should cite this crew. When you first suggested this.
Surprise!
Well, my opinion.
You got to have some losers or there are no winners,
true.
right?
That's very true. That's very true. Okay, let's we'll come back to some other crew later on. Costume crew, speaking of, and trait changes. So there was some additions to the costumed crew collection, and if I just pull up the server release notes. Costume trait was added to, rightfully so, Niners Worf, Niners Cisco, Colonel Q, Gangster Kirk, and Logician Solok. And interestingly, Survivalist was added to Rurapenthe Kirk, Rurapenthe McCoy, which is actually Prisoner Bones McCoy, because that took me ages to find on my sheets. I'm like, he doesn't exist. I was like, oh yeah. And Rurapenthe Reed. So for a lot of people thinking, this could be a Survivalist collection coming up. Well, maybe. Maybe it could also just be or maybe we need to add some more people in this pool for crew retrieval, I think. Or maybe it's just this makes sense. Who knows?
First off, can you say Logician Solok without thinking Magician Solok?
Magician Solok. Magician.
I've brought this up before, but the idea that the Vulcan captain, like of the, what was it? I can't remember his ship. Is it the Tacumbra? Was like, I need my senior staff to be a baseball team. Like, how the hell did he get that past them?
It is.
How the hell did he just? And it's like, yeah, this is not logical, but it is team building. It's like, I'm just like,
what is this sport? It makes no sense.
What do you mean it's a fancy Dan? Like the montage where they go over what a bunt is and what a fancy Dan is, or like a grand slam. Imagine trying to explain that to Vulcans.
Why am I touching my hat?
Yeah, no, exactly. So these are some welcome additions because, like, I personally managed to finish off Gangster Kirk with Lucky Behold, so this was a really nice little addition for me and a little bump up. But there's something that links all of these crew, if I'm not mistaken. All the costumed ones, anyway.
Is there?
I believe they were complained about by, I think it was the number 2 all-exclusive premium timeline stream.
Was it?
Yeah, we have competition now. I don't know.
Are we? I hope we're not using our influence to get ill-gotten gains out of the game here. You know, I believe there was some sort of friction about that on the forums. Really.
How about you play that video of me striking out to the tune of 25k Dylan Eat Me Sleep Wolf again? Tell me how much I'm getting paid by WRG.
So this is something we talked about last week, but it's also in 2 or 3 threads on the forums. So
I mean,
I'd like to say that I sent an email to WRG Carmen and told him, hey, I hear you're the trade guy. Can you make these changes? But no, I think that's... I think we complained. Oh, I know I complained about why didn't they do this before the costume stuff? So, you know, I don't know where they got it from. I know he's looked through the trait thread before on the forums to make changes. So I'm guessing that's where it came from. But
their work process is, it's not like we can complain about something one week, they do it the next. Like, I think going from track record, they take months to do things like this. You look at Carlos data being added to the Big Goodbye. That was pretty much asked for by us on stream and by everyone on the forums, like, on the week, and that took months.
5 months or 4 months?
Wasn't that much?
It was a long while.
Yeah, it was a while. So this obviously has been something in their pipeline. They're a business and they're a company. They have workflows. They can't just go, quick, do this now, unless it's a real cock up. But so yeah, this has happened.
There's a conversation earlier this week when it happened on Discord. I think it was Barkley saying, "Since when is a uniform a costume?" I think it's, and if I knew how WG thought, that that would make my life more simple. But I think it's because it's from an ancient time period. Like if we were to dress up from some sport 400 years ago, and reenact it, that would be closer to a costume than us actually becoming like, great at the sport or whatever. Plus, they're in a holodeck goofing around, which I think is a common thread in a lot of these other costume crews. So, and I think with Kirk and Colonel Q, it's because they had contemporaries in that episode. You have Gangster Spock and Bell Q, who are costumed from the same episode. So that one just makes sense to me. But yeah, this survivalist thing is interesting because WRG has never really wanted to. WRG has never really wanted to tip their hand with upcoming stuff. So if the next collection survivalist, I'm actually going to be a little surprised. Because why would they not just make these changes when they announce the collection? So I don't know if this is the red herring or maybe they were just doing other trait changes and thought, let's throw this in the same server update. So
I can't remember who it was. Someone was talking, possibly someone I know quite well, and I wasn't listening probably, but someone was saying they were going for someone in crew retrieval, and them adding that today meant, now it's not 100% guarantee. So I'm wondering if there's a little bit of sort of padding out the pool by adding a few survivalists into that sort of area to lessen the chances of 100%ers on certain other survivalists that might have been easy grabs.
I suppose it's not impossible, but it strikes me as either preparation for a second survivalist mega, which there's precedent for now. We've had our second scoundrel. It could be crew retrieval balancing, but honestly, crew retrieval I don't think is anything people's really worried about balancing. Like consistency, yes. Balancing, yeah. It could be a collection, or it could just be someone was really, really annoyed. Because if people who saw the WRG thing, they have some real nerds in there, and they were probably just as annoyed by the trait inconsistency as we were. So it could be any number of things, but until we see where things go, I'm less inclined to think this is some kind of they're nerfing the crew retrievals. It's
if you say the voyage home 3 times in a row, Wicked Rainbows Fury will come to your door. She'll leave a whale at your doorstep.
That's a big delivery. Where should keep those?
A toy one. Another thing that was changed this week, which we kind of hinted on last week, but we didn't have the full stats, and we'll tie this in talking about the event as well. Human Saru had his statistics changed.
Speaking of game changes that I bribed WRG for, let's talk about Human Saru.
How you are literally killing all the crew. You've turned him from a number 1 Voyager to the number 2. Why has he got super rest?
4.
That's weird. Oh, I've got the wrong numbers here. Sorry, I've got wrong numbers on the screen. There we go. That's good. He's gone from number 1.
That's the proof. That's how we know you work for WRG.
He's gone from number 1 to number 4, so he's essentially trash. You should throw him out. Don't participate in the event. I'll get the stars for you. Don't worry. Yeah, he's crap. Don't worry.
We'll carry that load, Mr. Frodo. We'll carry that load.
Carry the load.
So Genos in chat says when they added costume to High Roller, that was that one trait change update they did. You couldn't 100% crew retrieve Little John Riker, which makes me very happy that I managed to get him this honor sale because he was one of 2 vanity crew that I needed. So.
Yeah, Human Saru is now. Yeah, they've updated the stats, and I'm not quite sure what went wrong. I mean, he was like Auto. We were talking about this. Like, he was heavy in the diplomacy. There was far too much there. Like, not that there is a sense of balance between this because it didn't affect Gauntlet and it didn't affect Arena, so it was kind of
Well, yeah, he went from you must acquire this crew at all costs to you should probably acquire this crew at all costs because he's still a monster.
Yeah.
He's still, I mean, if Sato didn't exist, we would be talking about this guy as maybe the best crew in the game because he still does have a huge lead in base. And he's still a huge Voyager. I mean, if you weren't able to get Reunion, Spock, and Kirk because either the skirmish was way too competitive or you didn't have the dilithium to spend on Kirk, this is basically your consolation prize, and it's still a hell of a consolation prize. And I think that I don't know if it's an intentional decision by WRG. I'm going to give him credit and say that it is, but you had Reunion, Spock, and Kirk, that you get half of them from a skirmish event. You get Dexa from a galaxy grind, and Human Saru from a faction event. So basically, any kind of spending level or whatever kind of event you like playing, you have a chance at a powerhouse. 3 weeks in a row, basically. So that is,
and that's not even counting Barry, who you'll be getting across the Mega. So there's always a little bit of taste of, do you want some really strong hero voyages? There's multiple ways to achieve them. Do you want some Engmed? Here's multiple ways to achieve them. It's nice to have multiple avenues into it rather than
rather than the Enterprise Mega with just, here's a 2-skill you'll never use, and here's another 2-skill you'll never use. And Linus Paris.
So one of the guys that works with us on the Big Book, Ain't Ever Lucky, pointed out we have right now 2 crew in the game who are in the Costumed Collection and Exobiology Collection. One is this guy, Human Saru, and one is crew we're getting next week, Bajoran Culber. And I find that too much to be a coincidence. Like, I'm sure they're doing all sorts of market research on, okay, we added these collections. Now, if we start padding them out specifically, how much are people willing to compete? How much are they willing to pay for these crews? So if you're a collection fiend, these 2 crew hit 2 that you need a lot of golds for. So that's maybe even more than a cherry on top. That's a big part of his value.
And it's a good card. It's a good episode. Like it
is a good episode, and it ties in with what I was saying about how like most of the bases have like the number 1 representatives being relatively iconic or their main cast member, which I appreciate, like the synchronicity of that. Like I'm fine with one-offs like Keiko or Tribble being like a number 1 command because I think that's funny and it's in keeping with the spirit. But Professor Sato, the creator of the linguist, being number 1 dip base, that makes sense from an in-game perspective. Like that makes like a, I hate to say it, lore justification, but the 3-part like connection that he establishes with the character in the Discovery Season 3 Ender, I feel like that justifies this kind of power and this kind of like this feels justified. It's not like they took crewman number 3 and made them like it's not like Technician Fisher or whatever. It's not like they suddenly came along and gave them stats for him. Yeah, like this feels justified, and I like it and I approve it. And we've talked about it before, but like it's always so good to see Doug Jones like get his due, and this was like especially good for that. So that's one of those cards where real good utility, and I'll be happy to see them on my roster if I can acquire them, which I'm hoping I can.
A lot of good Sarus as well. Like Saru, I think aside from away team Saru, the rest are all worth grabbing. I can't think of any other gold ones. Vahari and Mirror and away team, and that's it.
Yes.
Anyway,
I don't want to live in a world where Fisher's not the number 1 voyage. Like, that is such a disservice to TOS.
No, give me some better. Give me some of the other cage.
I love the cage. I did not know who Technician Fisher was. I remembered Yeoman Colt, and I remembered Boyce, but
give me Transporter Chief Pitcairn.
How about we get Kyle first? He actually made it into one of the movies.
That's true.
With a really fabulous looking mustache, as I recall.
That's right. Yes. So go on.
We've talked a lot about him, but easy. Probably the easiest one in the group for me. The thumbs up here.
2 collections.
If you manage to get them, cite them. Before we forget, let's just talk about recaps because they're looking juicy as hell right now. You have tons of collection value. You have a lot of discovery event value. You have voyage value coming out the wazoo. Xahean Adira, who we're going to talk about a little later, looks pretty good too. Are you guys? I know not everyone likes to spend, but $390 being the most heavily discounted pack in the game, how tempted are you guys by recaps so far?
Extremely. Like I think we might have mentioned like that it was shaping up to be with Xahean Adira looking how they do, and Saru and the general sort of like consensus of what the crew are looking like. This may be the single best mega lineup ever, if not maybe equaled by the general quality of the Survivalist Year of Hell Mega. That's the high point in my mind of crew quality. And recaps for this. Like, I felt I somehow managed to kid myself into feeling slightly guilty for citing Dexa all the way up, because I was like, oh, but I'm going to be doing recaps. What if I... It's like,
pull one, Dexa.
Guess what? If I end up... Yeah, no, it's like, how could I have done this? This is a really high watermark for Mega Crew, and like I think that if you have the deal to go for recaps, which you might well do depending on how immortalization and achievements have worked out for you, or you've been doing on your spending habits, these are easily the most worth doing in a long time.
Can I divert ever so slightly to something we're going to talk about later, but it kind of makes sense now? I am outraged. I am visibly angry they have changed the 390 Tuesday packs to 490 again. It's gone down and up with no announcement, because they never announced when it went down. Everyone was just like, oh yeah, maybe they won't notice. And I think someone maybe noticed, or it's another price point or something. I don't know. It was a bit like I was looking at North Star the poll and I went, oh, for 390 I would, and then nearly went, oh no, that's still good.
100 dill? I couldn't possibly.
No.
Me, 100 pack idle?
I need that for Quantum.
Yeah, so you can get a Serrana.
Or a 01.
So
one last little addendum
I dared to say something mean about Idle earlier today in Discord, and you're like, you're so mean to him. Well, you know what? They bring up this stuff to me all the time, so I get to get in my licks when I can get them. Please continue.
Yeah. I love you both. You're both wonderful men. One little addendum on Saruman, as he's been coined. At the end of season 3, he is off the Discovery because he's helping the other Kelpian, basically reintegrating in society. It has been confirmed he will be in season 4. Like what capacity, we're not certain. But if you are worried about Saru's event history, I would not be.
No.
Saru is incredibly popular. He will be in Discovery for the duration. I would not worry about that.
I mean, they've said in the event caps there's going to be another Burnham, there's going to be another Neelix, there's going to be a Saru. These are other megas. Like I go back to the Enterprise one where we had Hernandez and Linus. They're not eventable names. This mega has crew you will use again. Aside from Dexa is possibly the only outlier, but then she is the monster in herself.
Galaxian mega.
If we get Jetrel as recurring, that'd be all right.
Speaking of Dexa, if you want to pull her up. By the way, the Dueling Stevens in chat and Sid and Reed are both on the recap train.
It's like the content train it just keeps on rolling.
I think pretty much everyone in chat is looking to cash in on these.
Yeah,
I don't know if we're gonna do another. Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna do an 8-hour stream for it or not, but it should be fun.
If I have enough dilithium to do something stream worthy, I probably will. If I've got, if I can do a decent amount, then I will.
Instantly, just before we continue on with Dexa, someone asked if there's any speculation on this year's First Contact Days festivities. Last year, I think we had, Saturn Dressley, Sloan, Phoenix Cochrane, and Enterprise E. Picard, if I'm correct. Like, it was just like a free giveaway behold, which was decent. I would expect something along the same, maybe with, Borg Queen, Tempted Data, and some other First Contact crew. I doubt EV Suit Wolf, because that's too fresh. Mira Cochrane could actually be a decent pick, because that's still technically First Contact adjacent. But I don't know. I wouldn't expect anything too massive. They usually just give away a free behold for that kind of thing.
I recall reading and or hearing. Man, I don't know if I'd be able to find it, but one of the WRG employees said that they really want EV Suit Picard in game.
Ben said that,
I think somehow. Okay,
yeah, Ben's the big Picard fan.
Because we were talking about EV Suit Worf. Oh, that's right. He was talking about his dev
pack.
Yeah, his dev 6-pack. So. Maybe we do see EV Suit Picard in game around that time as a sort of celebration that you have to pay for that they're very fond of. But just to have him in game would be nice. So
yeah, for the consistency, because we have all the other ones now. Like we've got most of the First Contact cast. So
we could have unassimilated Hawk. That would be quite good.
We could have unassimilated Hawk.
Yeah, pilot.
We don't have.
Probably give him command sec eng or something. And...
We also don't have undercover Riker with the cool leather jacket.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I'm starting it now. If he's not called Ooby Dooby Riker, I'm going to be very upset.
Oddly enough, I think there may be copyright issues with that. I'm not sure.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, maybe.
Just call him Blended Riker. I'm alright with that.
Blended Riker, like he's a drink.
You're blended, all right.
I told to drink, sir. I've got a little Blended Riker here, over ice.
Riker is the kind of guy who would have a cocktail named after him. Let's be real.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know if that was a thing in Lower Decks, actually.
All right, so
anyway,
since she's on screen, let's go ahead, because I'm going to confuse myself when I timestamp this later. This is we don't have to make this call. This is an easy decision for you, the player, to make. If you care at all about Voyages, this is the easiest side of your life. Not only will she still be a top 100 crew in 2 years from now, but she has the perfect blend of skill set and power. She's, for my money, the best Voyager in the game. Shout out to our rivals, our fierce competition at sctpowerratings.com, who also has Dexa rated as the #1 Voyager in the game. So if you like Voyages, you got a fuse her. You just have to, whether it's after recaps or not. And that being said, we're not going to get that till Action Mega. Sorry to spill the beans, but if you're not big into Voyages or you think they sort themselves out, Dex is really not the crew for you. Now, I know a lot of people posting on Discord this week had a lot of success with her in the Gauntlet, and she can certainly pick up a few wins there, but you're not going to get anything more from there from Citing, and her med base is fine, but like for what events? Med seats already scarce enough. We had a caregiver
But
mega.
what about daily shuttles, Otto? What about daily shuttles?
You have pricked the balloon of my argument with that one. Good sir. Okay, if you need med daily shuttle help.
Why did you say like that, like Alan Rickman? Potter, do your shuttles.
What would I get if I added a med base to a med?
You're going to potions and shuttles class.
Mixing my fandoms right there. Don't worry about it.
Ensign Potter, you are late.
10 points from the Enterprise.
Oh, there's a crossover we need.
By Grethos Hammer. I mean, yeah, you can't say this is off topic because Galaxy Quest is as Trek as it gets. So. Rest in peace, Mr. Rickman. Right, can we get back on topic? Or
Dexa thumbs up.
Or should we not even try?
Thumbs up.
Dexa thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Okay.
Like, here's the thing, right? I'll actually get a bit serious. If you were gonna cite up Dexa, do it now because this is probably the only event bonus she's gonna get for the next year. Like, let's be real, right? Apart from what maybe like a romantic mega, which I think we kind of already have with that second scoundrel. So, if you want an actual event workout of her, now is the time because she doesn't count as costume for this mega. So,
yeah, we could get more caregiver. I don't think there are a ton of those, but it's like caregiver and action are the only traits she has that don't have like 400 people in them. So, all right. So that was an easy thumbs up across the board. One more here before we break from this very serious discussion. Fal-tor-pan Spock, and he was the lesser half of the golds that came out. What was it last week with Reunion Spock and Kirk and Fal-tor-pan Spock? Now, this is a tricky one because not only is there value there is presumably an enduring value with Spock events. So the voyage power is not great. He's right around Lothario Q with an arguably less valuable skill set. But he does have 2 good collections, Exobiology, Vulcan. He will have Spock events for a long time. We've actually weirdly had 3 Exobiology events too. So I'm thinking there's a big Dax fan or something in WRG. And the fact that
Stellar is slipping the money under the table, I'm sure.
Yeah, Stellar. Boy, if we get more Exobiology, I'm going to call her
Noted
out.
VIP 0 player, Stellar Eyes is slipping the money under the table.
So I can see reasons to cite this crew, but like, does anyone need more Spock science? So I feel like he probably has 10 different gold variants with science.
I mean, if you have no Spock,
I think at least 5 of them are in the top 10. Like EV Suit Spock and Science Officer Spock are incredibly available.
If you have no Spocks, like, or if you are short and only have one, say you only have Science Officer, you've been playing like in that kind of time span, then maybe. But if you don't have Vulcans completed, maybe
he's not a bad crew. But again, like with Lothario, it's a case of, do you really need what this crew offers, or can you get it more readily available elsewhere? So, like if this were a new crew or in a galaxy, which I don't particularly like grinding for, I would probably pass him up and save the resources. But the areas that he does hit on, a lot of people do need. So, and we can't talk up collections the whole show and then pretend like he doesn't have any, which he does. So,
no, he does have exobiology, and it's
a sideways thumb from me.
I mean, I'm not citing him up because he's fuel for my Respurk machine, but I would. What a sentence!
A machine to do it. Interesting. Tell me more.
It takes my Kirks and their Spocks and it bashes them together, and it makes number
I
one
can do
voyages.
that. It's called fanfic.
Yes, that's the slash fiction. That should have been one of our charity goals. We should have read out some terrible fan fiction. Anyway, actually,
Next time.
You know what I do have? I do have some of the William Shatner Star Trek novels I could have read out. They're
Oh, you know what? We got Otto to do the HMS Pinafore. We should have gotten him to do his Shatner impression of like Shatner's album, the spoken word album.
Yeah. I'm a rock it man.
Rock it.
I'll probably go thumbs down on Spock. I think there are
on his own. He's one of those. He's a Vulcan you're going to be happy to pick up when he enters the portal and like cite up to 5 out of 5. But for me, the value is all in the fusion, and the card itself is incredibly milquetoast. Like,
now I'm looking at him now on boy, he has a lot of it. Laborer Spock science, Mountaineer Spock science, Seeking Spock science, Mirror Spock science, Science Officer Spock science, Captain Spock secondary science, EV Suit Spock science. So it's like it's there. I'm looking at him now on Data Core, and unfortunately they don't do crew retrieval combinations for crew not in portal yet. And we talked about with Anxious Kirk last week. He's going to be real hard to retrieve. Like I don't think there's a pool below 5. So you have pretty bad odds. I think Spock is a little easier to retrieve down the line.
I think it's going to be like Vulcan cultural figure exobiology would probably narrow it straight down, because I can't think of any cultural figures Vulcan that have exobiology. I think he's the only Spock that would have both. So I think you'd probably be able to narrow it down to him quite easily, but Kirk is going to be tricky, I think.
You haven't given us a thumbs direction on Fal-tor-pan yet.
On his own, no. He's purely fusion value, in my opinion.
Down he goes.
Like,
we should have had an animation where I put him in the bin or something.
Yeah, just drag drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's like if ED Spock hadn't been a 4 out of 5 mega giveaway, and if Science Doctor Spock hadn't been a readily available campaign, then maybe, but otherwise.
Well.
Yeah, no one is hurting for Spocks in this game. Let's be real here.
The highlight for me of our charity stream was when Idle was on the accordion doing Archer's Enterprise theme, and someone in chat said, "Click skip intro." And I just about died of laughter.
Oh, I have to apologise as well. My microphone quality was absolutely terrible. I didn't realise until you guys were saying your microphone's back, and I was trying to back away from it. But God, I don't know what was going on. It was absolutely playing up, and when I was listening back to it, I was going, "Oh my word, that was terrible." So I apologise to everyone that had.
It's fine. No one was listening to you anyway.
No, that's fine.
Love you. I'm literally beating on a sick man. I feel bad. I'm sorry.
Anyway, right, yeah. No, let's not get copyright struck again. Okay. Moving on, we have an event coming up, which we do a faction event. Is it this week? I forget. Well, what's coming up first? I forget.
It's faction first,
Faction
then
first.
Galaxy, then Skirmish,
that's right.
faction, I believe. Yeah.
Faction coming up, where you can use your wonderfully cited up Dexa if you chose to do it, or choose to save it. We've got a faction event. Stars, you've been collecting for us a wonderful array of who should we. I should do a theme song for this. I should do who should we cite? It's the unfreezing hour.
I'm really glad the microphone didn't pick that up. So I do like to do these. I used to do these on the Reddit forums, and I did I think for one of the previous megas, I outlined all the 4-star crew that you should be looking into unfreezing. And I think I gave Idle a freaking aneurysm because I went through it so rapid fire, which is why I just did this earlier this morning and was like, I'm not going to make him mock up the art because A, there's no point, and B, he's already sick. So we'll just run through it relatively quickly. These are sort of like the top 3 or 4 bases for all the different skills among your custom crew that you may or may not have. All gold crew are pretty much going to be worth keeping, so we're not going to go into the details of that. Like we've already talked about people like Lothario Q that you should probably think about citing if you want to be competitive in this mega.
He is the
yeah, it's true. So in terms of command, you have the newly minted Logician Solok as number 1, Cyrano de Barclay as number 2, Sheriff Worf, who was, I believe, a premium free campaign track a little while ago, as number 3 command.
It was the first one.
In terms of, I believe it was actually, yeah, because it was him and Durango.
You only got
Troy, one star.
One of him, because that was that.
Yeah, because there was the beta version. Yeah. In terms of science, you have Princess Jadzia, Data Q, and Heist Bashir. Heist Bashir being one six-pack
Yeah, it
crew,
was a Tuesday.
respectively. So he's not in Portal, so yeah.
Costume before
But
we
I
knew
don't
it.
think who knew? It's almost like they try and plan these things. Maybe, possibly. We're not certain. In terms of security, everyone's favorite Robin Hood, the Clown, and Kestra Troy Riker. I believe this might be her first event,
Oh, she
like
costumed.
bonus.
Makes sense.
Yeah, she's costumed. Yeah,
not
because she's
realise.
dressed up as like one of
Yeah.
the forest people of Nepenthe. So yeah, maybe you should look into unfreezing her. I don't know. In terms of engineering, you got a little bit thin on the ground here. Your best options are Safecracker Nog, Niners Rom, and then Marquis Takeover Paris. Not tremendously amazing, but you're probably going to be relying on either your Dexa or your Barry Waddle or your Amal Chakotay. Look at that! Someone actually taking my advice. Can't believe.
And freeze.
In terms of wow.
Actually, that's the kind of roster decisions I would expect from Idle. So thaw and immediately freeze.
100 merits, worth it.
Worth it for the bit. In terms of diplomacy, Victorian Pulaski is number 1, Brigitte Torres number 2, and Rigel 7 Vina, who is the number 4 diplomacy, because number 3 is Mintar and Troy, who you should be thawing anyway because they are the featured crew for this week. In terms of med bases, you've got Combat Medic Paris, RAF Bashir, and also six-pack fuel Camp Nurse Janeway. So seating might be kind of weird this event. 2 of the featured goals are Eng Med. Amal Chakotay and Barry are both Eng primary, and Mintar and Troy is Med secondary. So we usually talk down like med and engineering seats in factions because majority of crew don't have them. This time, the pool is such that you might actually see a few med-eng seats in there. So if you have some costumed eng med crew like White Rabbit, Carlos Data, or Dr. LaForge, this is probably going to be their time to shine.
Now, I want to ask chat, because we just had this big honor sale, and you might be bursting at the seams with crew slots. What kind of budget do you guys allow yourself for thawing crew for a mega event where you know you're going to get more than 1 week out of it? Because if you pull them out, you're probably going to want to keep them out for that full month from week 1 to week 4 for the faction event. So guys in chat, how many spots do you usually allow for that? Or do you just try to get by on maybe 1 or 2 and use your active crew to get you the rest of the way?
I feel like this kind of depends on where your roster is at, right? Like, if you're still using mostly 4 stars as your linchpin on voyages, then you're probably going to be trying to unfreeze as many as you can. But if you're at the point where you have like a load of gold costume crew that are 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5, and usually slots are a little bit tight, you can kind of see it's probably not worth unfreezing 4-star crew. But it really does depend on like the age and maturity of your roster.
I know for myself, I'm freezing a few, and I'm kind of doing my 2 a day because you kind of want to plan it in advance. You don't want to kind of get the day before and spend too many merits because like they escalate in cost. So your first one's 100, 150, and then it goes up. I think 300's the cap. You don't, if it depends what you use merits for. If you've got a stack of like 10, 20,000, then you're fine. You're not spending them on Gauntlet, okay? But definitely trying to do myself 2 a day and sort of spread out a little bit. And just get some of those, like you put that list of names, just trying to get some of the bigger names on there, just so I'm covering all my bases. I said, hey, covering your bases with your bases. There you are.
Yeah. I had the good luck to cite up Carlos Data as part of Faction and part of Voyage thing. So he's going to be probably like a bit of a hero for me. And I managed to into 2 copies of Right Rep during the honor sale. So his this is probably the only time I'm ever going to use him in the entire game, to be frank, because he has crafty, costumed, and automated unit. And so this is probably going to be the only work he's ever going to do. But
so I'd be an easy retrieval for those with the automated unit, Polestar.
Looks like chat's a little tight on space. No space. Steven Encina says maybe you can buy on golds. I think there's like 70 costume gold crew. Yeah,
it kind of depends on what costume gold you get. Because if you have like a load of old duffers like Frank Hollander, who a lot of people might have 1 out of 5 from the event, his bases are kind of so rough that there are probably some purples who are actually better than him.
I mean, Mintar Riker will definitely do better for him than anyone else.
Yeah.
This is actually the first time on this account that I've thawed any purples for events, and that was Mintar, Troy, and Pulowski, because A, you always have tons of dip seeds. B, they have massive scores for super rares. C, Mintok Troy's features, so it'll be a big bonus, 3x bonus. D, I'm running out of letters. Human Saru is a fantastic crew that I really want to try to rank for. So I think this is sort of a confluence of a lot of reasons why it's worth throwing at least a few crew for this mega. Plus you have D, E, E. I got to take off my socks and count my toes.
Five.
Number E, number
Hang on,
5, letter 5.
Are you missing some digits?
You're going to have two
Delta.
full factions. Two full factions. So I think it's worth it this time to thaw at least a handful of crew if you can.
Yeah, I honestly feel I actually quite like this this event structure they've got, because you start off with a faction and it's starting off strong because you've got a big pool, and then you've got your skirmish, so you can level up anyone who you've kind of got stragglers who may not have been used in the first one, and then you end off on another mega, so you have like a decent chance to use all of the crew you've accrued over the period through either getting them from event rank bonuses or from the discount packs, which they've started doing.
And there's
Someone mentioned
two factions. Sorry.
Yeah, 2 whole factions.
Yeah, 2 full factions too. Not like one half at the beginning.
With
Someone
such a large
mentioned
pool,
earlier
that's
that-
good. That's it's nice to be able to use them.
Yeah, if they ever do something like, only a small, like 30 pool mega or something, like then I would be less upset about only a half faction or something. But when you have, like, just the baseline from just costumed is already bigger than like any other mega we've had
Yeah.
before. So they definitely needed the 2 full factions, and that lines up great. Someone pointed out earlier this week, they also like the order of doing the collection first, so you're incentivized to level all these crew. And then here comes the mega. Oh, well, you just leveled them all, so they're already ready for it. So
Yeah,
I would
it's a
assume
nice
they thought
little
about
thing.
that.
We have to guess what? We can give credit as well as criticize. Chill, guys. Come on. Don't leave me hanging here.
Praise
Yeah,
the
Salieri
master.
says no space but opted to temporarily freeze some voyages. I tell you, it feels really dirty to have to freeze someone like Bridge Officer number 1 in favor of someone like Mintok and Troy, even though the math does work out. It feels dirty, but it makes sense.
I think there's one point I thought of when I was thinking on Nightmare mode. I was thinking, maybe I could play this another weird way. I could freeze my top 50 voyages, so I have to use the crap ones that give me incentive to cite them. I was like, no, this is stupid. Just don't do that.
You're basically just looking down at your own knee with a shotgun, like, what if I just blew that off?
No, I think there was another idea I had for Nightmare mode was play. If you've ever played Pokemon, you'll know there's a version called Nuzlocke mode, which is where as soon as a Pokemon faints, you have to get rid of them. Well, I thought,
It's dead,
as soon as a crew member fails a faction or a voyage, fails or something like that, that's it. Airlock them, they're gone.
Yeah, the faction, the shuttle just exploded on the way back.
Yeah, they're gone. You have to find them again. Anyway.
Yeah, if you forget your voyage and it runs out of antimatter, you have to airlock all 12 of your gold crew. That makes sense, right?
Yeah, there you go. Have to or freeze them permanently or whatever. Anyway, definitely. This week's crew, which we have a Galaxy event for, and I've put too many crew in this lineup, it's taken me ages to scroll back to them. We have I'm putting lots of chat into the chat.
I'm
as well.
watching
That's
you.
my
I'm
button.
watching you in
Zah-
the show notes, typing random buttons in as you try to pull up
717171. Yeah, anyway, Xahean Adira is here from another. This seems to be a running theme. They're picking a lot of characters from those final episodes from Discovery Season 3. We've got, Human Saru, Bajoran Culber, Xahean Adira, and Trill Burnham coming up.
Trill Burnham is named captain in the event announcement, so I imagine they're probably going to be the final gold, maybe the final purple, we're not quite sure.
It's going to be that. So, yeah.
Human Neelix.
And Human Neelix. Was he there? I didn't realise. Maybe he was, and I just blank Ethan Phillips out of my memory.
It was all
watching
holograms.
That's very true.
It was all holograms.
It was. So yes, Xahean Adira is the crew coming up for the Galaxy event which is, I'd say, like, even though she's a good crew, is probably the weakest of the bunch so far. But I still want her because it's Adira, and I love Adira.
Yes.
Sorry,
they
not her.
awesome.
They get the pronouns right.
It's fine. It's fine.
How dare Adira not be a top 10 Voyager with a top 5 base? What is this garbage they're
that's
feeding?
Again. Yeah.
Spoiled. That's what you are. Just spoiled.
So this is a case of I cited up Executive Director Q as a pure affection pick because he's still like a relatively decent Voyager, and I was like, I really like this crew. I like the art. I like the character. but I'm still going to go in for Adira, even though it's roughly the same sort of like return, just because I really like the character. I love the Xahean makeup. I love that they keep on returning to that species and they aren't just abandoning after one episode like Star Trek used to do. And even though what they offer is like extremely common and like it's like human Saru and like Tanavik and all the various burners will give you this rough crew package. They're costumed, they have decent voice stats, and I like them, and that's a reason enough for me to go for them.
For me, because I don't have the emotional attachment to Discovery or Adira, this is still a plus crew, and after Dexa and Barry and Human Saru, this is like, hey, I will take this because it doesn't screw up my recap packs. Like,
well, it's just like
they could have made this Captain Erica Hernandez, and every time you spend dilithium and you get a really bad crew pop up, you're like, oh, this feels terrible. So for Adira to still be great in several corners of the game, well, good in several corners of the game, like you'll take that if you're pulling packs. You'll take that any day of the week.
Yeah, because this isn't the Enterprise Maker where the highlight was EV suit to Pol and she was merely okay. This is still easily on the good side of Voyagers. You'll have event prominence going forward. Like this is a good card, and I'm like you say, it doesn't mess up anyone recaps. And as Rob requests, we have the entire away team part from that episode, apart from Vulcan Grey. Vulcan Grey, I would like to be a gold, but I think that they probably were, and I think justifiably worried about turning this into too obliquely a Discovery Maker. So I imagine Vulcan Grey will be sequestered somewhere else, maybe.
It is. It's the second one in the road too, which. I'm kind of okay with, because even though Discovery is not my personal favorite, I did not want to see 8 Discovery bonuses a year, which, because my concern is,
it threw everything out of whack having it balanced like that.
Yeah, if you're guaranteed 6 events plus whatever variant events, like every single year, that just tips the balance of cards too much. So if they want to feature them, like that's cool. I just didn't want, like, give them 1,000 bonus events.
So Salieri M in chat says 3 legendary cards for Adira, no lower quality variants, and that's kind of interesting in itself because usually they spread them out like we'll see with Culber, in that some of them will be legendary available in events and some of them will be super rare, which are more available to players who like the card. But I imagine there's a lot of Adira fans who are a bit more casual that are a bit like, it's another one I can't get, which I can kind of see when they said we're going to do Xahean Adira. I would have thought there'd have been a super rare card, which, rightfully so.
I think Adira fans are doing just fine considering the fact that they got copies of both gold variants.
Well, true. Okay.
So unattainable for players. I only got 3 or 4 copies, and also they're going to be very easy to retrieve once they join the portal. So I wouldn't exactly worry about that aspect. I think that's more of a sort of thing with Culber, where it's like you went 3 gold variants, and now we're only just getting his purple. So I think that's more of a, if you want to die on a hill, that's the hill to die on. Okay. The one just after the Adira hill.
But
I think probably Adira's been more favored by WRG than any character I can think of in game. Because you talk about in crew like Janeway or Picard, they have tons of variants, sure, but they have movies and or 7 seasons of Star Trek, and Adira's been, in one season they already have 3 gold crew, 2 of them with really fantastic stats, and this one above average in almost every area. So the other one I can really think of is actually Burnham, because she debuted with that. First Officer Burnham is legendary now to everyone by now. She also picked up a Mega with Courier Burnham, a Gauntlet exclusive with the Red Angel, another Gauntlet crew with the Away Team Burnham. So it's like, and tons of variants. So.
Now, I will point out that this also means that the other side of that is that all of the other characters, like Picard and Janeway, have had more time to have shit variants. Like, the reason why you have crap like Enterprise D, Picard and stuff is because that character has been around for longer, so you have more time for the cards to age. And you can already see some cards like Away Team Burnham is kind of slipping in that direction. So
when we get Tommy Gun Adira and their bases are like 500 across the board, then we know who to blame, right?
Yes, exactly. It'll be us. We're to blame for everything.
Yeah. Hey, there's your
everyone
originals, Tommy Gun Adira.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Gangster Saru.
I still
Yeah,
want
I'd love it,
Swole Saru cracking bowel over his knee. I still want that. I'm down for that.
So I don't know. You talked a little bit about, yeah, you can get the same package elsewhere. This skill set, dude, is like, I might need to have another Suspiria level ran because and it's hard for them, right? Because for certain crew, like from the source material, command seg just makes sense. And they have dialed back on that, but they've really amped up command psi, and that's like the new thing. If you're a Picard variant, you're going to get command psi because there's a little bit of science archaeology involved, whatever. And it does hurt their viability on voyages, sometimes in shuttle seating as well. That being said, this Xahean Adira is still very good. If you want them, or like I said, you're planning on digging recaps, you should be happy to get this version. There is triggerless arena damage. It's a little slow, but it's there, which I always love these little options. Like they're off par. Like maybe it's 10 seconds instead of 6 seconds. But if you love the character, don't you want them on your arena battles like from here on out? Don't you want to use Trelane in all of your gauntlets because you really like the character? So it's like whenever they give something a little broader than just here's your base, here's your voyage number, whatever. Whenever they give a little more utility, I always like that for people who like this characters.
And I also like to imagine that, I don't know, it depends on how long you think this game is going to last, but I think it has the mileage to go quite a few many years. I like to imagine that maybe 3 years down the line, Xahean Adira will have slid down the voyage ranks. The base will no longer be as competitive, but someone will they'll come up in a hole against way worse options, and someone will be like, they do have that arena damage, and they'll be like, ooh. And it's like it's a value add that like it maintains, it persists. You know, it's worth having.
And by then, we've got a 700% 2-second instant damage gangster series.
No, you just have like a Krenim torpedo that like wins the battle before it began.
Yeah. Start investing in arenas. Potentially.
Yeah.
The Krenim ship can time shift into 5 skirmish battles into the future, and you just skip that round entirely.
Have you seen that 5D chess thing where you can actually play multiple chess games through, but then go back in time? It's weird. You should look it up. 5D chess.
No, I have not, Commander Spock. Please tell me more.
Go Google it. It's interesting. You should do that with Arena. Anyway, the super rare crew for this week is Bajoran Culber.
Having a Google, mate.
Google, mate. Is Bajoran Culber, who fills all the collections and also all the events, has all the skills, and is amazing. So there you go. Anyway, moving on. No, he feels basically, like you said also, he's in Costume Party, he is in Life Among the Stars. You know, these are 2 recent collections. Are they testing the banks to see who will dive in for these collection crew?
Yeah, and the Voyage Power is there. And it's the Culber's first 4-star variant, so you get like a little bit of versatility there. I can see plenty more variants for Culber in the future, like an away team, tactical variant, or all this kind of stuff. And I think he just looks fly. Like I love what like, it was such an unnecessary gimmick, but it was a gimmick I like to see anyway. It's like when you have a world and a universe that has as many beloved races as Star Trek, it's always nice to be like, look, Bajorans, look, Trill, look this, and it's like. And I don't know, it's just a crew that I look at and I'm happy. And like
he makes a good
that's the kind of a yeah, he does. Honestly, he does.
Like Wilson Cruz in season. Sorry, go on.
Gazoo in chat asks, do any of the new crew bring down the necessity to level up Medic Jet Reno? To level up, no. If you have her, you should still be leveling her up. And even if you have all the crew in the game, Med Command, Med Eng are still going to be near the bottom of your voyage options. So having her as an option, you can ignore the ranks to a large degree with that skill order, and the other,
No, he said sorry, Cite. He meant Cite.
Peripheral perks. So Cite.
Yeah.
Well,
the thing is, it's like so.
We'll do it next week.
Barry. Okay, I was going to say that Barry and Dexa both ping her a little bit, but it's like, are you really going to have many voyages where you're not seeing all 3?
Yeah. Well, we'll do a Picard and touch on her next week because that is probably a name that a lot of people are still want to know about. But I smoke them if you got them when it comes to Eng Med Command. Like if you have those options and their power is still in double-digit voyage or top 30 base or whatever, like go for it. You can't go wrong. Maybe there's options where you're 2-3%, better value or whatever, but she'll be good for a long time, so I wouldn't worry about that.
Yeah. And as number 2 faction winner DC Pilot points out, she's still the best med-eng crew in the game, because even though Dexa pings in terms of like a higher Voyager, it's still med-dip eng, whereas Reno directly targets med-eng, which is like a rarer stack. So even if you have every other med-eng, you will need Reno at some point. It's an investment you will not regret.
Is it me, or does it feel really weird to do a normal show? I've just been sitting here thinking, like, we need to move on with the next section. When's the next guest coming in? My head's in a different space right now. But yeah, go back to Bajoran Culber. Like, this is... He's for the faction? Which event is he for?
Galaxy, I believe.
The Galaxy. So you will get 4 of him. So...
Oh, damn it, our new tradition. I forgot about it.
Oh, yeah, go on.
All right, hold on. Xahean Adira. I'm gonna do these freaking things. Xahean Adira. Sneaking medicine down to the landing part of Theta Zeta. Adira appears as a Xahean. Well, that one's not very fun to read.
Okay, but can I point out, I love the very TOS sound of Theta Zeta.
Theta Zeta. I didn't even know it was called that. I thought that was something else. It was in the Veruban Nebula, wasn't it? I didn't realise the planet had a name.
that was what was identified, but I guess Theta Zeta is what...
Where are we going, Saru? We're going to Theta Zeta?
Some very angular Tholian with like the wavy lines on the view.
Yes.
Stay away from Theta Zeta.
Looks like that Batman or 60s comic or something like that.
Okay, but Bajoran Culber, flavor text. A malfunctioning hollow program aboard the wreckage of the KSF Kiev made Culber appear Bajoran.
Isn't that the same as Saru's?
It was similar
with
to Saru's.
Well, I mean, it's the exact same context.
I mean, yeah.
There's only so much you can innovate with.
True.
Well, they're basically giving players a heads up of this is where the crew came from. They can't all be as fun as Triple Trouble, whatever his was. So, Bajoran Culber is, like I said, and then you reiterated, this just reeks of their fingers in the data point, the marketing data point. Okay, we just added these collections. Now we're gonna give them crew who match it. And it's kind of strange because they did it. They're doing it back-to-back weeks, different rarities. I guess they're trying to figure out what makes people think. Like WRG would never sit down and explain the inner machinations of how they market stuff to players to sell. But man, would that be entertaining to me, because you want them to tell you, okay, well, what's the thought process behind doing it this way and this way? And, we'll probably never get that, but you can at least see the framework of, hey, here's a costume collection. Bam, there's Platonian Chekhov costume crew, and the way they do the pack sales, and they've structured the mega, and they've said as much, so it's not like it's a secret, but
Yeah.
it is very interesting how they do that. And even if you don't want to spend, getting a crew like Bajoran Culber, who fills out 2 at once, plus physician, it's like, I don't want to say throwing a bone, because you do have to sort of fill it out. You can't have it require 50 gold crew to complete forever and ever. So it is nice to see movement on that, to see it for free too. But the fact that it's a faction, you're only getting 3 copies. It's I see your eyes. Did I get it wrong, or did I get it right?
Is it a fact? No, hang on. What have we got this week? It's a faction this week for someone.
Oh yeah, wait. This is being.
What are we getting this week? I forgot. I can't even get my head straight.
This is the problem with the event data being published a week ahead of time.
We're getting
is a double-edged sword.
We're getting a mouse
because it means
Damn it! It's the Galaxy.
So what are you going for?
Because you have to balance 2 weeks worth of event data in your head, but it does mean you get to spot advanced problems on a week ahead in advance. So you have to deal with both of these.
You know what? Then it is a freebie. You're getting 4 copies for free. You don't even have to worry about the citation. I would have done, if I were working at WRG, I would have probably put it in a skirmish or a faction where you're incentivized to do packs for them. So I guess that was nice from them, because
now I'm just picturing like your head stapled over Stonks Man, and then it's just like at the end of the arrow is Bajoran Culber. Yeah, exactly.
The collection is good.
So anyway, great crew, getting them for 404. If you're a new player and you're trying to pick your spots, maybe saving up for gold, this is worth the 130,000 VP. If you can get there, or even if you only get to, 30,000, get the 2 copies, get the 3rd from Galaxy, and if you're able to complete that free campaign, throw that first citation on Bajoran Culber. This is going to be, it's a good skill set. And, for later game players also, I should mention, Culber has no diplomacy options at all, because he only has those 3 gold variants. So now that he's starting to get a few more events, when those events do come up, like he's your choice for diplomacy shuttles.
Culber. Perfect segue.
What day is it?
What
event are we doing?
It does feel really weird to do like a show this week after having the charity show. And it's just like, I kind of think maybe we should take a week off. Anyway, talking of spending a lot into the game, there are some new whales have arrived on the scene. The perfect segue. I didn't actually get the art until literally just now, but yeah, there they are on the screen. We have George and Gracie, who are in the cryostasis vault. We've been told they're coming tomorrow on April Fool's Day, allegedly. From looking in the vault, they are a 3-star crew. So how are they going to give them away? I'm not quite sure whether they'll just do one of the usual giveaway. Here, have a blue crew. But do you think they'll do all 3 stars to people, or do you reckon they'll do 1 and then we'll have to wait for Portal?
I feel like doing 1 star would be kind of cruel and unusual when we've had this massive of a thing for the costume mega. What I would love is if all of us open up our Darbo wheels next refresh, and then it's nothing but George and Gracie's all the way around.
Gillian Taylor, just as the last one.
Yeah, Gillian Taylor is like 1 spot, but all of the other ones are just George and Gracie. I'd like that.
My gut says temporary achievements, because when those happen, you don't usually get a heads up. Like I know some people data mine art and stuff or pack images, and to my knowledge, there's been nothing like that for George and Gracie. So if it's a temporary achievement, like we wouldn't see that coming. If it's somehow a collection reward, like for the citation biologist collection, which is just Gillian Taylor. So however they come. This is, it's a collector piece, which is, I was talking with someone the other day, I said, I'm not sure I like the aesthetic idea of having 2 whales on my voyages alongside like normal people. Like that would be...
Like Captain Tribble.
I don't know if that breaks the 4th wall a little bit too much. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
The Enterprise D had citation ops.
They did, yeah.
It was mentioned in dialogue by Captain Picard, so it is canon. And
I think there was an interview with Mike Mahan, I can't say his name, but he was the creator of Lower Decks, and he said they wanted to have a section with citation. I can't even say that word.
Citation.
Ops.
Citation ops.
There was going to be a citation department on the Enterprise in Lower Decks, but anyway.
George and Gracie's flavor text, very descriptive. After being rescued from whalers by Kirk and crew in 1986, these heroes saved the world in the 23rd century by singing at a deep space probe.
That only makes sense in Star Trek, and I love it.
So we do have the traits, and tell me if these make sense to you guys. Ambassador, communicator, hero, prisoner, and telepath.
Telepath is the only one that sticks out to me because they didn't communicate with the probe via telepathy. They communicated via their singing, and they mind melded with Spock, but he initiated the mind meld because Vulcans are telepaths. But as far as I know, unless someone has gone up to a whale in real life and find out that they're telepathic and
I
not
hope
told
someone
anyone.
got fired for that blunder.
If a whale was telepathic, what would they tell you? They're very secretive. I mean, they knew a probe was out there. They talked to it. They didn't tell anyone else about it.
No, see, that was their revenge for getting killed. It was like, oh man, you're going to really regret it when that probe comes along and fucks you in the ass in about 300 years.
Look,
are we saying whales are dicks?
Children's charity stream. Let's...
I had to hold myself in for like 8 hours from this sailor mouth, so guess what? It's going to come out something. But all the other ones make sense. Like Ambassador, Communicator, Hero, they are all fine, I think.
Somewhere in a hospital in Maryland, a little girl named Judy is tuned in for the first time to Timeline Stalks because she found out that these gifts that appeared in her room this last week came from the generous benefactors at our charity stream. And she just hit the unmute button we're talking about whales. Hey, kids love whales. Look at the art; they're so cute. And here's Stars going. When they get fucked in the ass in the 23rd century.
Guess what? That'll be up there in my Hall of Fame alongside getting a blowjob from a holographic Napoleon Bonaparte.
Listen, I have set the YouTube not recommended for kids, so we're okay. It's on the settings. We can be untethered here. This is a safe space for all you crass-minded folks out there. So the whales here, they're 3-star. They are coming tomorrow somehow. We don't know how, but I would like them. But
maybe they will just retroactively be on your crew as if they were always there thanks to time travel.
That fits the theme.
Maybe you have to send a probe out to go and talk to them to retrieve them.
You have to go scan. Yeah, you have to go and scan at Earth.
Oh, that'd be quite cool.
There you go.
Yeah, that'd be quite cool. I'd be into that. Go to Earth, do a scan, get a whale. Hey, everyone wins.
Oh, actually, that'd be fun. That'd be cute.
It's natural selection. Okay. Next batch of Cite candidates, if you would please.
Oh, okay. We're skipping ahead, huh?
Are we? What have you got? Oh, yeah. So, do you want to... oh, man. What do you do?
Who's driving the plane?
Who's driving the bus?
Idle, this is your...
Is it me? Why is it me? Oh, okay.
We literally
who's on
put
first?
those in order.
Okay, right. Let's do this. Well, this was kind of your section anyway. You put this in the show notes. Possible expansion to achievements you wanted to talk about. Crew immortalization stops at 600. When was the last bump up? Something I think we want to kind of put out there to the chat as well. If you want to... a lot of people have got enough immortalized crew. The achievements have not been looked at for quite some time. It would be nice to have something more in there to work on, especially for sort of us, those of us that have done them a long time ago, apart from that #1 event achievement, because fuck that achievement.
By the way, Stirs is getting
And
roasted by a WRG employee in chat. This is like the highlight of my week.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I just read that. Oh, if anyone listen to the podcast...
Are you going to say, or are you not? Come on, own up to it. I'll read out if you guys don't want to.
No, just for the benefit of the people that subscribe to the podcast who can't see our visual reactions or see the chat. WRG Ben came into the chat and just said, Stars blunders are the best. Remember when he called all Greek scoundrels? I remember. And this was after we found out that Ben has Greek heritage.
Well,
see, I thought Benny the Greek was just a nickname. Turns out it's not, so...
Achievements, do we want more? Yeah. Let's steer this back on topic.
Well, this Stars put this in here, so why don't you kick us off, Stars?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this. I just hit the 600 threshold on the immortalizing crew. I can't remember who it was. I think it was maybe Gangster Kirk or something like that. You would think I would remember such a auspicious landmark, but it just kind of got me to thinking that when was the last time that was updated? Because as I recall. When the game first launched, I don't even know if achievements were in the game, and then it was 350 was like the top threshold, and then it was updated to 600 roughly the last 2 years sometime. I don't know the exact timing on this. And it just kind of struck me, we're at crew 1021, you said?
Yeah.
It feels like it should get bumped up, and I don't know, maybe that's just like the dilithium miner in me just like wanting to scratch the itch, but it's like, even then, it's a case of the other achievements could use a bit of a bump up. Like, how many rounds of Gauntlet are you past 20,000 for your complimentary Locutus? How many people are sitting around wondering, I sure do hope the RNG fairy blesses me with a copy of Caretaker or Guinan or your Gauntlet White Whale of choice? And I was thinking, maybe bump it up to like 50,000, 100,000 for the other ones, but I feel like maybe because we get temporary achievements relatively often, I was thinking that maybe like a slight update to the long-term ones might be a nice quality of life thing. But I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I think they've got to get rid of that #1 event one. Like that is okay. It's great if you got it. Like those that have put the effort in, but for 200 and something people at one event. I think it's about doing 230 events or something like that over the course of timelines. You 230 people, not bearing in mind people have got it multiple times auto. There are another 10,000 that will never get it and it's just the fact that it's there annoys me, no doubt. I'm not saying they should. Well, I'm saying they should take it away. I know that would be quite controversial for people that are going to go, I'm going to get number 1 this week, and then all of a sudden, I'm getting nothing for it. But I mean, the rewards aren't that good anyway. But it would be nice if there are other milestones. I know a lot of people have talked about completing all missions on the mission map, or and other ones, maybe immortalizing certain green crew or something like that. It'd be nice, and I think that's kind of
immortalizing green crew. That's like what you've got the common collection for.
Yeah.
But there are other milestones in the game that you can achieve that I feel like would make sense to expand upon the achievement system.
Yeah.
Like, it is there.
My buddy who goes by Captain Benjamin Sisko in game, he won the faction event about a month ago. And Timeline Stalks faithfuls may remember that time that we got drunk in Stuttgart, Germany, and then had some delicious African food afterwards, Ethiopian restaurant. And that night, as he was hopping on the train to head home, he was lamenting that he had not yet won an event. And he got in top 5 a few times, but he said, my bucket list before I can relax, before I can maybe retire, and I don't think he's retired, is to win an event. So he won that about a month ago. And I'm not going to divulge trade secrets, but he spent enough buying dilithium that WRG has good reason to keep that number 1 achievement in. Even if people don't, even if everyone doesn't win it, people will chase it, trying to achieve it. So, from that sense, I can see why I don't think it's going anywhere. But yeah, it's a pittance of dilithium right now. So all you're really missing out is the sense of pride and accomplishment from finishing number 1.
Can I opt out?
I will say for the other achievements, they could certainly expand the crew one. Like, they had this offer wall sale recently for, what was it, St. Patrick's Day?
I think so, yeah.
And you got double the reward if you started the offers within a certain time. And I saw a screenshot of one who completed a offer for 32,000 dilithium from the offer wall. Now, I don't care if you're doing 1-star Ensign Kims all the way to 1,000 crew for the achievement. Like, that's still probably more work to get that dilithium. And it's actually playing the Star Trek game. So, if they're going to have these... They've added sources of dilithium left, right, and center, which is a nice thing for a lot of players. But if they're going to have, and I believe Shan said on the forums that there may be similar offer wall sales in the future. So if they're going to do that and people, can pull home 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 dilithium at once, I don't think it's out of line to have your own achievements in your own game be if not similarly rewarding, at least scale so that people who have played from the beginning, throw them a little bone.
One day, one of those.
Yeah, it's just like...
Sorry, one day, one of those off-wall achievements will Google Sheets, and I'll be set. That's me done for the rest of the game.
You can buy a Google Sheets premium selection, and I was like, my time has come. Picard loves red too, by the way. Like, welcome to the stream, guy. Oh
yes.
Always good to see him. That's another one that would be a decent achievement milestone. Like, finish all the 1-star ships, finish all the 2-star ships, because they don't exactly add them massively often, and finishing them can be a bit of a drag if they are out of portal. So I could see we've been talking about adding a shipyard where maybe you can modify ships or whatever. Just having an achievement for finishing some maybe historic ships would be a nice thing. But
maybe nice if
it doesn't even have to be for dilithium. Maybe just an avatar or a portal pull or a tiny bit of honor. It's nice to have achievements to look forward to,
Complete all the cards.
Complete all the Xahean crew. Yeah, all 3 of them. I have a Xahean Polestar, and I might make a bad decision with that one in the future, too.
There's still Daj's boyfriend to be added.
True. Oh, there'll be more Adira variants. Plenty more.
Yeah, trait dead.
It's not like Dosi.
So we've had people submit questions for the several Q&As we've had in the past. One of the ones that always keeps getting brought up is the galaxy map. Can we get an achievement for 3-starring all the missions on the galaxy map? That one's like a gimme, not in terms of being able to complete it, but in terms of that is one of the few things in the game outside of in event number 1, where you have to put in a significant amount of time and effort. You need several crew that fit all the different trait things. So as you were talking about that with the WRG panel on our charity stream, like that's one of the few areas of the game with the highest level of
you need specific things for
Right.
this. You can't just brute force your way through.
Yeah, you can't cheese it, you can't cheat it, you can't throw dilithium at it. So I would love to see that one added as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot to do there. Shall we go to our last site block before we move on to our Tuesday crew, the last block of crew to talk about? We'll start with Gary 7, a very popular name in all of timelines. It's pretty much any time Gary 7 pops up. It's him and Braxton. They pop into Behold. Everyone's just like, just do it. Just get him. Don't even stop.
Well, in fact, this is an on topic because I think our good friend Skycat managed to snag a copy of Gary 7 from the randos. So if you are so lucky, here is also to tell you why Gary 7 is still the bee's knees.
I was hoping you're gonna vamp for another minute, but I found it anyway. This is gonna be an odd one because actually I got. Oh, great! Now I have to go find that. Someone contacted me this week or last week, and they said, I guess I can read the quote. Hey, one more thing. I can retrieve Gary 7 when my quantum finishes recharging. Now that the honor sale is here, do you and the other big book boys still think Gary 7 is a drop everything and cite him card? And my answer was, it depends, but for me personally, no. He's still a fantastic Voyager, and there are many but there are many fantastic Voyagers out there. And if you have his first star, that's a good chunk of his value in the gauntlet. I said I would cite Dexa from this next event before Gary, or maybe Mirror Saru, even though he might be a better overall package because of the gauntlet. So it's a tough one because a lot of citation options or considerations also take portal into account, and he's in the portal. He's retrievable with a number of different pole star combinations, and you run the risk of seeing him in a Behold, even though the portal, like we've said, is getting massive. So he still has a pretty good lock on sex side duties. Activated Dodge and Platonian Chekhov are really the only ones within hailing range of him. But his skill set overall, I mean, the command sec stack is loaded out the wazoo. It's pretty much everyone's number one stack. So even though he's got the right order, you're not going to get much value out of his bases for events. He doesn't have the best trait set. I mean, maybe we get a Hero Mega. That's certainly
Undercover
possible.
operative, I could see.
Right. But that's not going to be the same as someone like Mirror Saru, whose base lead is pretty huge outside of Sato, or someone like a Picard, who will get regular events. So I wouldn't say he's a bad crew by any means, but I think at this point you could probably find one or two other options on almost any roster that might be a better overall package for citations from Star One. So, I mean, if you're sitting around with 40 sites from the honor sale, by all means, he's still a great Voyager, especially in that specific pair. But if you already have the gauntlet, the overall package, he's starting to fall off just a little bit for me in terms of citations, if not the overall package with gauntlet.
It still amazes me. He still has a 0 event count. It's remarkable.
He's a one-trick pony. He really is. Like, it's like hero and undercover opposite, and that it's like I still want a hero villain Meg. I think that's right for possibilities. I think that would be a really strong thematic link, and you get some really interesting crew like the Binars. But yeah, it's a bit odd because it's one of these things where you very rarely get a crew that is good at everything. Like it seems to be that they sort of bury the lead with either you get Gauntlet and Voyage, or you get like strong base power, or you get an event performer. It's rare that you get everything in one package these days. Whatever, really.
I
was gonna search for other crew that had 0 events, but unfortunately that sheet is still broken. Idle.
I need to do my homework.
No,
so I've just been doing my regular day job.
Yeah, just your full-time job and the 8-hour stream and then 2 other streams. Like, why don't you get it together? Yeah. So he's a great crew in specific areas, but if you're looking for a little more overall, he's probably still a top 5, top 10 citation option on almost any roster. It's just that you can probably find a couple they're a little better. So I would say thumbs up. But if sites are tight and you need to look at an overall package, maybe he's not the first.
It's a thumbs up from me, with a sort of a slightly drooping of the thumb the moment that activated Dodge enters the portal and is available for retrieval, because I imagine she's going to be very easy to retrieve, and she's a good approximation of most of his value. I've never been particularly impressed by him in Gauntlet. I think he's fine, but Sexai is so wildly overrepresented that, like, you know, Arrow 18 Burnham, Cosmo Tate, Gangster Spock. There's so many Sexai things with traits that recur for crit so often that the moment activated Dodge enters the portal, I would probably say, like, if you wanted to go for her instead, you'd probably get roughly the same value most days, actually.
I think part of it, though, is...
Did you just say Cosmo Taint?
No, I said Cosmo
Okay,
Tate.
sorry.
But by all means, continue to dirty up our brand. Hashtag Napoleon Bonaparte.
You know, next time you blame us for tangents, that's a load of BS. Part of the reason why Gary is such a renowned combo is Top Shelf Voyage and Gauntlet doesn't usually come together in one packet. He is, I'm just looking down the Voyage list, he's the best Gauntlet crew in the top 30, 35 Voyagers. Then you have names like Sirach and Red Angel start to appear, but to have a top shelf combo in both is very rare. So I think that's... Yeah, but I don't think he has any number one pairs. And a lot of his competition in Dipsai, Locutus stomps him in a lot of matchups.
Yeah, Dipsai is even more stacked than Sexai. You're correct on that, yeah.
And I think Gary's Sexai pair is still number ones. I know you want to make a dirty joke, Idle.
No, it's fine. I was just going to say, you guys are kind of doing different degrees of, like, I thought we were just going to do thumbs or thumbs down. I've seen, like, half thumbs, and I've seen drooping thumbs. I think I'm going to give it a thumbs up with another thumbs up on top because he's holding a cat. And that's my whole argument. Okay. I rest my case.
Okay, next up, Mirror Saru. Partly because he's an out-of-portal crew, partly because he has a good collection spot of Mirror, partly because we have another Saru coming. So, this was, rest in peace, No Name Namer. When he was with us, he produced a spreadsheet, shocker.
Just to clarify, he's not dead. He's just not playing the game.
Come on, this is a running joke. We gotta keep up appearances.
Make that clear.
Sometimes we can still hear his sheets.
Stars was briefly dead about a month ago, so it's all good.
True. I got better.
Where was I? All right, so he does a sheet that calculated the antimatter bonus percent chance, which I think there's a project on the forums now that's doing something similar, but his chances of getting an antimatter bonus were like some of the lowest in the last 100 crew release. It was like 30%, and a lot of other crews sit around 60, 70, 80% for the good ones. So he has a pretty good skill set. I know, like you said earlier, Dip Med doesn't do a lot for you, and that's what he is. And you're getting other crew like Dexa that come out. You get some for free like Guinan. So that, of all the med combinations, the Dip Med is certainly the easiest to stack. So between that, not great antimatter chances, and now another Saru who will manhandle him for events. I mean, obviously you need more than one crew, but it does take a little bit of shine off for him. So this is a crew that I've had at 1 star at a long time, and man, Mirror Collection is full of garbage. Like, for sure, there's so many 2-skill crew. There's like 2016 crew, and that you don't want to cite. So if that is your one aim and goal in the game, to complete collections, like, I can sign off on that, because he does have good daily use stats. But as a package for me, especially after Human Saru has come out, that has stolen a lot of his thunder there. So he's a good crew. He might be somewhere in the 10 to 15 citation range for me. Probably not a top 10 name at this point, but it depends on how much you value Smoke and Mirrors.
So for me, I think he was one of the first crew I actually cited, because I did my my 40Ks and I got my cites, and then I pretty much just spent them because I had like a pretty solid plan in mind. I think Mirror Saru and Mirror Culber were the first two that I did, because it was a case of I need to work toward Mirror. I don't want to be investing in bad Mirror crew like Reed or whatever, or Landry. I could see a strong event future, and I would think it was during the charity stream. I noticed that someone had Soji Asha frozen, I think, and I was like, who could they possibly have that is supplanted Soji Asha for that particular stack? And I was like, oh, Mira Saru would kind of do that. It's not the exact same skill order, but he is a better Voyager than her. And if you had him and maybe one or two other names like Mokbara Crusher, I could see potentially, Hall of Fame #1 on the data core tool, Soji Asha. You could potentially edge someone like that name out with his power. So even with all the potential negatives of he is dip primary, there is a Saru with a better dip coming along and a better voyage score, he has low trait antimatter, he is still a potent enough name, and he strikes all the right areas just enough that I felt really solid about immortalizing him. It'll depend on your roster, but I can't see many rosters where he'll underperform, because Saru is still going to be a strong name going forward. Mirror seems very popular with WRG, and there's enough names still left in the pool that you could very easily do a third one down the road. So it's a thumbs up from me, but it'll depend. Like you say, he's not a top 10, not a top 5 name for citations. It depends on how much you like the character and how much you need help in that particular area of the game.
There's also Vahara Saru, who has been around a little longer. Would he come out early last year, I think?
Yeah, but early 2020, I believe it was.
And so he's been around a little longer. If you have him finished, because we talked about Mir Saru when he came out, they're essentially the same crew. But Saru just has slightly better stats and the Mirror collection. So undoubtedly is an upgrade, but being sandwiched between two kind of similar Sarus at this point is he'll perform fine. The numbers are the numbers, but for me it's a case of bring me something unique, bring me something that titillates me and excites me to put stars on you, not just something that, he'll increment a little better than what you already have. So yeah. I'm not saying he's a bad choice by any means, but like some of the other names we talked about, you can certainly find better if you're not a Saru or a Disco fan.
Yeah, he's one, like he starts, I should probably cite him. I should probably put him on site list after, I think when I gunned for the Mirror collection, him and, I didn't get Culber, but if I had, he would have been one. But like I said before, Dip Med's not something I need. But like you say, I have Soji Asha and I have a few other Dip Med options. He is better, but I don't necessarily need him. It's an increment. It's like a minute on a voyage at the most. It's something slight. Unless we're going to get a plethora more of Saru events, which we could, then I'm not prioritizing him. But for other rosters, I'd probably say thumbs up. I would definitely put him at the top of your charts.
I think he's one where if you got a copy out of him from recaps is a lucky thing, and you don't have a lot of other dip med options. If you don't have someone like Mokbara Crusher, he's probably one of the better options on your roster than easy recommend, but it will depend on where you are.
So I'll give thumbs angularly up.
Yeah, 75 degrees up. I'll give you a full thumbs up and sort of a tentative from Nigel. I think that's.
I'm going to give you Schrodinger's thumbs. You can't. I'm not going to show it unless you ask me. The outcome isn't decided until you measure.
Talking about your thumb.
Oh, there we go. Everyone's contributed. This Tuesday has revealed.
Hold on now. We have one more
one moment.
Whoa.
We're not done rambling about nonsense that people don't care about. All right.
That's the entire show. What are you talking about?
That is the whole show. All right. One more name on the list because he does pop up quite a lot.
Sorry. Yeah.
And that would be Quinn, the
medicine woman.
The Q that if you.
Anytime someone says Dr. Quinn, I go medicine woman. It just comes in my head.
Oh yeah. So this is a crew you get the reward in episode 10. If you add warp, you can get 2 copies of him. So for a lot of people, that extra star makes him a tantalizing prospect. Let's see, what other names we talked about? Yeah, I think out of all the names, this would be the 10th one we talked about. This is probably the firmest thumbs down from me. We've talked a lot about the skill set before. We've talked about what kind of you need 1 gold for his Continuum collection, and I can see if you're VIP 0, maybe you think, well, he's 2.5. I didn't get my hands on the other Mega crew. Well, like we saw, they will come around again. you'll see plenty of John Delancey in the future. So I don't think there's much value in that collection. The traits are Writer, Explorer, Prisoner, Q Continuum. I never put it past WRG to do, or formerly DB, off-the-wall trait megas. Like, we did have Pilot when no one saw that coming, Exobiology collection. So there could be juice in there in the future, but it's very shaky ground. And if I'm going to put my sights on something, I want them paying off for me 3 years down the line, not just for the next year or year and a half, or maybe if they get an event bonus. So while that the 2 free stars are certainly juicy, I'm not biting. The skill set is bad. The boost still sort of favorite. So in boost neutral situations, he's outside the top 40 Voyagers. The point in his favor, like you said, is Dipsec. It is probably the best order you could have for that skill set, but even so, it's so saturated that I love the episode. You know, they get Riker to come play himself,
Yes.
along with a stoner and John Delancey's Thaddeus Riker. John Delancey's at his best. It's a great, moral dilemma that Star Trek is famous for. So I absolutely love it from that angle, but I'm not putting 3 citations on this crew now or probably ever. Maybe if I burn my bridges as I retire someday, I'll pick all my favorites and do that. But
so yeah, this one is a bit of a tricky recommend because as we mentioned, it's like Dipsec is the most underrepresented stack of all of those combinations of Dipsec command. What would sway me here is this is almost a completely unique crew. Because this isn't a crew that you can get from voyages. This isn't a crew you can get from events. This isn't a crew you can get from achievements. This is a crew you can, so far, solely get from doing those 2 episodes and doubling your rewards. And I think he's appeared in a pack once. And at that point, if you're going to get a 2 out of 5 and you cannot finish him almost any other way, and he shows no signs of entering the portal just yet, you could do a lot worse than immortalizing a top 30-ish Voyager with an underrepresented skill set and event traits that could... I know for a fact I've immortalized worse golds. And it's very easy to sit back and go, well, he's Command Dipsec. It's very easy to talk yourself out of him, but I feel like no one who has finished this crew would ever be like, oh, it was a waste. He's been Voyager 20, 30-ish for a good year or so now, and that's with a lot of ping-ponging thanks to collections. I would personally feel okay with citing this guy up, especially if you need help with Dipsec. He is probably one of the best options you have on your roster if you haven't locked into someone like Koloth, if you didn't take a campaign like Determine Paris. I think it would depend on your roster, but he's a thumbs up from me. If only just so you can clear the crew slot, because you won't have many other opportunities to do it.
I'm going to have to tie break this one, aren't I? Because you're a
Yeah, you
thumbs up.
are, actually.
hold on, let me rebut, because so far your arguments are I've immortalized, and it's to clear a roster space. So you're looking at three gold citations, and one of his biggest perks is to clear roster space. Now, I know you've done your stats homework as much as I have. Do you think Voyage ranks tell the story when it comes to Command Dipsec?
No, because I'm certain that in the top 30, there's probably 15 better Voyagers, probably at least 3 in his exact combination. But in the end, it comes down to who you have available and who costs the least. Because, yeah, we can talk about how Determine Paris or Koloth is a better proposition from a collection standpoint or a pure Voyage standpoint. But in terms of availability, he is simultaneously the most available and the least available. And I feel like he's a special fringe case in that instance, where it's a case of, if he were available in Portal, I think, I wouldn't recommend him at all, because it's another Dipsec, whatever. But at this point, it's either finish him or leave him on your roster 2 out of 5 for potentially ever. And I feel like that's a waste of a potency when it comes to someone who is, in the end, still Voyager number 31.
Okay, let me weigh in that he's someone on my roster that when I got him, at the time when episode 10 came up, he was absolutely someone I could have used. So, what brilliant, he's going to go up to the site list. And as I've gone on, there's been someone else just coming in and just someone else coming in. Oh, someone else, this is just someone just slightly more, oh, well, hang on, now here's Luau Paris, similar kind of, and he was 4 stars. And, so like you say, it depends where you are with the game. Like for anyone VIP 0, thumbs up. Cite him because he's going to be useful too. He's going to be one of the most valuable golds you will get because they are in short supply. With someone who spends on the game, has indulged in as many packs as we have, it's thumbs down because he's more of the same than what you already have. You don't need him for collections. He's not eventable, so I'm kind of going to give both. So this is definitely the stamp of undecided. Like, he is a very situational crew, depending on if you want to spend sites on him. But I know for myself that I've just been knocking him down my site lists for years, literally.
Yeah, but it's like I feel like it's very, like I said, he's very easy to talk yourself out of because he has the worst skill set possible, even if it is the best permutation. The collection isn't the value add you might think it is, but in the end, it's a case of he is otherwise going to sit on your roster for 2 out of 5 forever, and that is, I feel, on most, if not everyone's roster, a waste of potency. At that point, you might as well airlock him.
Yeah, but
if you're never going to finish him,
how many other golds will probably sit at 1.5 or 2.5 on your roster for 2 years?
But how many will enter the portal? All of them, apart from this guy, pretty much.
And when they do, how many golds will be in the portal? What's the percent chance of seeing them in a behold?
But here's the thing: crew retrieval muddies that water, doesn't it? Because with a very few exceptions, you can crew retrieve almost anyone down to a 100% certainty. Quinn, thanks to the weird exclusivity they've decided for him, means you cannot crew retrieve him. You cannot get him from packs apart from that one time we've seen him in a Q Continuum pack. You can't get him from Gauntlet. You can't get him from anywhere else.
So the same logic could be applied to the On Hall crew if you're going by that metrics. Like, well, I should get if I've got Phlox or if I've got Captain Tribble, they're worth it for the sites because I can't get them anywhere else.
Well, that's the thing. It's a case of you made the choice to grab Kalis or Captain Tribble or whatever. You made that calculated investment.
I didn't consent to having a Quinn in my roster.
Well, that's the thing. You kind of did because it's not like you got anything else for finishing episode 10.
True.
So,
you got a lot of dilithium.
Yeah, you got a fair amount of dilithium, but it's a case of you also got a 2 out of 5 gold who's sat at the top 25 voyages for most of his life. Like, I feel at this point you should either give up the ghost and airlock him, or admit you're never going to finish him, or just bite the bullet and finish him. And then what's the worst that's going to happen? 2 years down the line, he's Voyager 70, 80, 100, and then he'll probably have a few events by then because of a rare one-off writer, some Explorer collection that might have popped up. It's hard to say, but I feel like if you let him sit on your roster and never do anything with him, this crew that so far has sat unfinishable by any other way other than citing, it's like, you got to give up the ghost at some point.
Can I just appreciate the dilemma that Quinn has in his episode about whether he should commit suicide, and we have the same dilemma about whether we should chuck about the airlock. You know, it's a moral quandary in both the episode and the card.
I can't believe we should have renamed this episode "Death Sight Wish." Hey, the end is in sight.
Hey.
There you go. The end is in sight.
The end is in the sight.
I will say, even if you keep him at 2 of 5. With bonuses, his base is 1100. When he gets events, you can still use it. So he's not worthless.
No. All right, I think we'll have to leave this one as undecided.
I just had to get the last word in stars. we do this. We've been doing this for years. We pick these. We get the most random roadblocks, and we just go at it. We just butt like rams until we talk each other tired.
Solari M in
and
chat
yet
says...
we get a much better big book as a result of it.
There you go. Solari M says, in chat says, I haven't bothered to get him because I know I won't cite him and I prefer the crew slot. So that kind of validates that side of the argument.
He'll have what I'm having.
That's the decision you've made, but it's sitting in the middle ground with having him and not doing anything with him. That's the point at which I think you have to make a decision and choose where you want to go.
We're just going to start next week with the same argument. Keep going.
They never stopped.
Quinn got added to a 6-pack today.
Speaking of disappointing decisions, Union Chakotay is the Tuesday pack for this week, and he's the super rare. And he is costumed, and he is a Chakotay auto. How thrilled are you? This wondrous version of your favourite character has come to the game.
A multitude of Chakotays in 1 week.
What are the chances? Like, is there something you're not telling me in stars here? Like, Yeah.
My order went through. I know Stars has some thoughts, so I'll let him get to it. But this feels to me like, whatever stats aside, this feels to me like another experiment. So we have Bajoran Culber costumed in a galaxy. We have a gold faction reward costume. We have Plutonian Chekhov 6-pack gold costume. Now we have a purple costume 6-pack. Feels like they're trying to put them in every possible corner.
It makes sense.
And getting data on it. Well, sure it does, but it's sort of, I won't say it's a disservice to Chakotay because 99% of the people don't give a rat's butt about Chakotay. But as someone who does, it feels like they didn't do right by this, because it just feels like an experiment to me, which, maybe that's all in my head. As a card, he's whatever. The costume tag is that crew, basically, except for the one event he might get per year. So,
yeah, like in terms of statistics, he's like the number 2 Chakotay security after Temporal Prisoner. He's the number 1 Chakotay command, just ahead of good old Captain Airlock Me, please, God, please stop the suffering Miller. If you have no other costume crew, I guess he makes it, or if you had just like chasing like the latest 6-pack, which, I guess there are people who do that, then there's some value there, but it feels like a really bad point to put him in a 6-pack when we are coming up on a run of discount packs that are going to feature some of the best crew possible, like Age of Sail Picard is already in there. I can only imagine what other costume crew are going to pop in there, because there's quite a lot of good ones. And then there's going to be recaps for potentially the best mega ever. And stacked up against both of these options, who is going to throw their dilithium away in a 6-pack where the best options are a new 4-star Chakotay with Command Dipsec or Leonardo da Vinci, and he's the only other gold of note. Like, it feels like a bit of a losing proposition there.
Like, this pack is, let me just bring it up on the screen. Like, there's some interesting, you've got the Professor, you've got Kortar, you've got Adra is, if you were going to get her and you don't have a, fine, but Leonardo da Vinci, you're right, he is the attractive part of that pack, and that's about it.
I will give credit to WRG for the hitting that fear of missing out button, because I made a decision, probably poor, yet to be determined, a few months ago, and I went ahead and grabbed a Heist Bashir from his 6-pack, because I thought, okay, my goal right now is finishing collections. And if I miss a physician or a costume or whatever, I can live with that. But if he ends up being a vanity crew and I have to wait 12, 16 months for him to enter the portal and then maybe open a lot of packs and not find him, I said, okay, for a vanity where you have to, it's very exclusive, you need that card, okay, I bite. So I could see someone saying, if they're a longtime player, maybe they don't have this problem, but they might remember when Smuggler Cassidy Yates was the only non-portal jury rigger left. And if you looked at your collection screen and you were at 24 out of 25 and you had a lot of really bad golds, you had the silhouette of Cassidy Yates because you didn't pull her 6-pack, maybe someone remembers that and they go, I'm just going to grab 1 star of Chakotay just in case I need the costume crew down the line. So I'm sure I've seen plenty of people say, yeah, I pulled on it and maybe grabbed a few stars for this and that. So there's always going to be people pulling on Tuesday packs. But if you're trying to make the most rational, logical decisions, first of all, stay away from 6-pack. Second of all, this is not the 6-pack you're looking for.
Can we just talk about as well, and as a kind of cap off the show? So, oh no, I talked about this earlier. They changed the 390s to 490s. Anyway, never mind. This is what happens when I'm sober. I forget things.
Talk about it again. If it's bothering you that much, let it out.
It bugs me. It'd be nice if they kind of communicated that a little bit. They've changed the 390s to 490s, but they stay at 650s. But they kind of changed the price points. Are the recaps still going to be 390s? It's like you say, it's like, I can't part with 100 lithium. But if you're pulling to get like 3 or 4 stars on a crew, 100's a lot. Like, you'll end up spending an extra couple of thousand just pulling a few extra packs.
It adds up very quickly, yeah.
But 390 was a nice price point to kind of go, yeah, I'll have an extra star here or there. So I wonder if maybe that didn't work out for them, or whether they're just trying another price point again. And especially if you're looking at costume crew, like we say, you people that are pulling 650 on Union Chakotay to get extra costume crew. Well, we're in a costume mega. We're going to get lots of costume packs, and maybe they know there's going to be a bit extra demand, so they're putting the price up. I don't know. Will worse megas be cheaper?
I'm not a fan of the. If we get a crew for free, and that doesn't mean we get all future crew for free. If they ran 100 dill pack, I wouldn't expect all future ones to be 100 dill. So I definitely, I understand. I feel that as someone who pulled a lot of packs to get Age of Sail Picard, what was it, yesterday? I can definitely feel that. But at the same time, I don't think it's fair to hold them to, you did something cheaper once, so it always has to be that way. But
Well, I don't think it's so much a we as an expectation, but it is a case of it's the exact same thing as with the honor sale, which is the moment that you introduce that lower price point, which gives you that much more value, it doesn't invalidate it going forward. It's still a decent prospect. It's still better than the 650s, but it does mean that in the back of your mind, you're like, yeah, but it was 100 dill cheaper. And if you're doing, say, 10, 20 pulls, which as you often have to do for certain crew, like I know, it adds up over a long. That's like 3-4 extra pulls of the pack that add up if you're chasing that crew relentlessly.
well, would you want them to not do any deep discounts because of the expectation or the psychological effect going forward? Like, do you want them to try to keep it always 490, or are you okay with the flip flopping and you just have to take
I think my thing is I just like a little communication on it. Like, what is the reasoning behind it? I just want to
Good luck.
Yeah. Just want to know. It's just like, why are those ones 390s? Why are these ones 490s? I know they've said before in the past, like when they ran the credit Darbo, and they said, we are doing this because we wanted some data points and we wanted to essentially run down the credits before we entered the crew retrieval, just to get everyone on a kind of equal footing. And it'd just be nice to know the
That
logic.
worked out.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is that marketing data becomes useless marketing data the moment you reveal that it's part of marketing data.
Yeah.
Like if they came out and said, yes, we've upped the price of this one so that we can see whether or not you'll buy it versus the 390, suddenly everyone's like, well, I'm not going to buy it then because I'm actually going to wait because this is a marketing data point and not a legitimate pack.
It did make me think. It did make me think North Star to poll. Okay, do I need it that badly? Not really. But,
well, she's very easy to retrieve as well, which kind of dints that.
That's what
Celiarium in chat says maybe the quality of the crew in the pack impacts pricing, and that's been that conversation's been had for years now because people talk about decrepit old legendaries. Like, what if they do seasonal? A lot of games have seasonal packs. Cards or crew or whatever that were released years ago will be in their own separate portal at a discounted price. And so far, they haven't really shown signs of that because at that point, you're essentially admitting to your players, these are worth less than other crew, which then the player's like, well, why do I want to spend anything on them, let alone, a reduced price? So
I feel like they're sticking to their guns on that because they've been very resolute in charging the exact same for crew retrieval no matter what gold you retrieve. It's the same thing. The only discount is how big the pool is, not what the actual quality of the legendary is.
Which is a bugbear for some people that want to... Sorry, go on.
They should use big book tiers for the new portal setup. And if they're tier 1 or 2, they're going to cost the most. And if they're tier 10, they'll be like $100. That's what I think.
$5 pack. I think it's like the retrieval is a bugbear for a lot of people who especially just want to grab a super rare crew, and they cost nearly as much as a legendary, despite the fact
that is a bit silly.
Yeah, 800,
like what's the 800 quantum?
Yeah, 800 quantum, and that's ridiculous. Just for I think there's a price to be had there, and that isn't it.
Yeah.
By the way, if any low spenders are VIP 0 list, and I think we're going to end soon, so if you don't get it in, just send me a DM or something. I really want to know. If you have to have Reunion Spock and Kirk, are you going to mess around with 800 quantum pulls for him? Or are you going to just wait for Voyages to bring him to you 2-3 years down the line? Anyways.
On that note, usually we end the show
there is one last thing.
Oh, go on. Please do.
So this is a tiny little thing that they sent out in the creator mail, but it's the case of minimum iOS support is moving to iOS 10. It's a very small thing, but for people who play on maybe older devices, then that's worth keeping in mind. I imagine most people play probably on like a more up-to-date Android or on their PC, but just for people who are on iOS, do watch out for that because, like, I imagine having to balance iOS compatibility can be a massive pain at the best of times.
I've got an iPad 3 somewhere. I don't know what that's on. Oh, I'm not playing timelines.
I think that's iOS 10, which is like
right. It's nearly there.
Yeah.
You guys don't play on your refrigerators?
I do play on my microwave on occasion. Yeah.
My whole house. My whole house is smart. I just play on the walls. I just slap the walls, and then I get banned. So. Okay.
All right, instant tending. Calm down.
I'll get there. On that note, we'd usually end with the beholder meters, but I'm sick of doing beholds right now, so we're not.
Yeah.
We'll do one next week. I can't make.
We haven't done one in like a month.
Oh, it's been like it's been 2 days.
Well, we had real live beholder meters for the last week or so.
Yeah,
so
we've had
Vargas.
stuff. Yeah, it's Vargas all the way down. On that note, thank you guys for joining me. We will see everyone next week, where we'll do another normal show with no extras. All fun. See you guys. And is my button going to work? See you guys then. No, it's not going to work. See you guys then.